Welcome to Backpacker Radio, presented by The Trek. I am your co-host, Zach Badger Davis. Sitting to my right is...
Hi, I'm Juliana Chauncey, a.k.a. Chaunce.
A.k.a. Brendan.
No, I thought I was What was it, Landon?
Lethan.
Lethan, and you were...
Am I Brendan?
I think you were Brandon. I wanted to be Lethan.
Little inside joke. If you follow us on Instagram, maybe you'll get that story. Reminders of any kind. Yes, there's two for today. One is if you guys want additional bonus content from your pals at Backpacker Radio, we have a Patreon page. It's patreon.com/Backpacker Radio. We typically do at least one bonus episode per month. Of late, we've done anywhere from 2 to 3. We just love to give gifts. So if you want bonus content and or you want to support the podcast, we are very grateful for everyone who is a Patreon. A patron? A patron.
Patron. Yeah, you're a patron on Patreon.
Yes. The other one is if you guys want to make sure that you don't miss any important updates from us, the best way to ensure that happens is to subscribe to either the Trek's newsletter or go ahead and throw your email in at backpackerradio.com. We posted that we did a live podcast on Instagram, and I knew this would happen. I even made the remark during the live podcast, people saying like, why did I not know about this? I live in Denver. I would have loved to have come. We got the word out through every channel possible, but the one where you're ensured to not miss it is through the newsletter. There's no algorithm associated with that. So
yeah, we did a 10-day story countdown. So literally every day for 10 days, we did a countdown. And then for the entire month, we did a once a week in-feed post. We really did all we could.
Yeah.
But then again...
I understand not everyone's on social media. However, I guess these were comments that were coming through on social media, so I guess that argument doesn't really hold much water.
Yeah. I was laughing at the fact that my dad, what I texted you earlier, my dad somehow got into some newsletter algorithm where he wasn't seeing the episode post. Yeah. So instead of asking about it like at a sooner date, he just thought we just stopped.
Disbanded the podcast?
Just for 2 months have just not podcasted.
It's a fair assumption. We've gone downhill. Fortunately, today's guest is going to bring us back.
Yes.
But we're all washed up and shitty. Let's get to today's interview. Oh boy. This is with Quoc Double Magic.
When?
Is that right?
That's good enough for me.
What is it? You say it.
Nguyen.
Oh, I hear a G in yours.
Acceptable.
Whose is better? That's the important part.
Ooh, try it again.
You can't just guess based on what you heard the first time? When?
Let's just call it a tie.
Will you say it, please? So,
Quoc or Quoc Nguyen.
Can you say the last name again?
Nguyen.
Yeah, you had a G at the end. I didn't have that.
Nguyen.
No, you just said Wang.
Freudian slip. Sorry, guys. All right. Well, Double Magic is an incredibly accomplished thru hiker with more than 23,000 trail miles under his trail runners, including plenty of trails you've heard of, as well as tons of routes that you have not. In addition to being a Triple Crowner who's also done the Colorado Trail, Pacific Northwest Trail, and Te Aurora, he's also traversed Iceland, the Brooks Range in Alaska, the Norge Polangs,
Norway end-to-end, yes.
And the Via Dinarica.
Via Dinarica, that's in the Balkans.
Yeah, but that pronunciation was...
I think so. I'm not even sure.
Not super butchered. Whew. You guys,
There's literally a red comment in here that says, LOL, sorry, Zach.
and many more routes. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to stop just fumbling over the sounds of my voice, and I want to jump right into the interview so I can stop talking. Give us the intro story. How did you get introduced into the outdoors?
Oh, man. I got introduced later in life, pretty much at the end of college and of undergrad. It's just, I would say after going on doing my first 14er, that's really how I got into the outdoors, doing Mount Bierstadt with some friends. And once I did my first 14er, I was just hooked. And then I spent the next few years just doing all the 14ers. And after that, I was wondering what to do next. There are the 13ers, which I started on, but then I did the Colorado Trail, and that's pretty much how I started my through hiking.
Yeah. How old were you when you did Bierstadt?
So that was, I think, senior year of college. So I don't know how old I would be.
Was it like through a college club activity, or was it just some friends wanting to do it?
Yep, pretty much. Friends. I got an invite from some friends, and I didn't know much about 14ers at the time, so I just tagged along, and I was pretty much hooked. And yeah, that's how I started hiking. So it wasn't too long ago. Probably 2010, I believe.
Okay.
That's when I started.
Yeah, we started within a year of each other, and you've put on a lot more miles than I have. So I'm excited to dive in to your chronology here. So interesting that you started with the Colorado Trail, because I feel like the typical origin story is people hiking the AT. Not many people that we've talked to, which is strange considering that we're based in Colorado, have started with the Colorado Trail. Did you get the bug right away? Like, did you know that through hiking was your jam? Because it's a very different beast than bagging 14ers.
Oh, absolutely. Pretty much I was hooked. I was hooked with the lifestyle, the freedom that comes along with it. And after doing the Colorado Trail in 2014, I pretty much kept going almost every year since then for the next 10 years. And yeah, it's different. Instead of like waking up early in the morning to bag a 14er, it's a little bit more laid back, not going up 3,000 feet elevation at the beginning of the day and going down afterwards. It's just hiking.
I like the mindset that doing a through hike is a more laid back version of day hiking.
Yeah. I have heard a very strong argument that through hiking is great for lazy people.
Honestly, that's why I like it more than through hike. I don't like to drive. I don't like to wake up early.
Yeah. Sleeping in is a major benefit.
Yeah. Because a lot of the 14ers, like you're saying, is waking up crazy early to bag the peak, get down by 2, miss the thunderstorms. Exactly. At what point did you transition from doing that day hike up and down to camping out and staying overnight outside?
I mean, I own pretty much the Colorado Trail is my first backpacking trip. I think I only went on another backpacking trip before then just to test out some gear for the trail for training purposes. And so pretty much that's how I learned everything on the trail, like a lot of people do, or a good amount of people do.
Was the distance intimidating, having that be a first backpacking trip?
I did a lot of training, so I expected to make some miles, but I still wasn't making that much miles, like 20 average on the CT. Like, thinking back at it now, that's really nothing, but that's a long day starting out.
How tall are you?
5'11".
Okay. Because 20 miles on the CT could be pretty hard for a day, so. But I'm also coming at it from 5'1".
I want to get to this second hike because I think there's a lot of atypical trajectory with your resume here, but I don't obviously want to go over the CT without knowing, like, were there any notable stories or what stood out from you for your first through hike?
Pretty much I just love the freedom. Love being able to wake up whenever, and all I have to think about is just walking and not having a care in the world.
Yeah. And you're still in college at this point?
No, what?
I'm
a lot older than that, man.
Oh.
I've been out of college. I actually went to law school, so I've been...
Okay, so grad school is maybe the note that I've got here, because I've got a note that your next trail started, you left the country one day after you graduated, so that was you leaving law school.
Yep, pretty much the day after I graduated law school. I was on a plane to New Zealand, and it was only supposed to be a 1-year break doing... the plan was doing the TA and the PCT, but 1 year turned into 2 years, into 3, into 10 years, and that's just how it is.
Yeah. So, okay, so you graduate law school, which I imagine is quite a significant amount of debt. Is there stress associated with leaving for a long backpacking expedition, knowing that I'm sure there's probably some expectation that you're going to get a job at a law firm and start chipping away at deep 6 figures worth of debt?
Pretty much defer. So my loan debt hasn't grown that much, and with inflation, it's actually significant less than what it is, what it's valued at right now. So
you're just going to continue to wait until
I make some money, because it's really not a problem until you make money. Until then, just use up all your years of deferment, then the years during COVID, the pause during COVID.
Yeah.
But now it's the save plan. So if you don't make enough money, you really don't have to worry about it. But it's not going away. It's still there, and only when I make money.
Sure.
That's
so
when I have to think about it.
You're basically incentivized to just continue through hiking. Because the alternative is you going and getting a job and then having to start confronting the debt. This way, you're just like, you get to keep kicking the can down the road.
I mean, I'm trying to get back to where I left life off. So, we'll see. I mean, I'm back in the office right now, and I finally got bored enough that I signed up for the bar exam, so that's what I'm doing right now.
For the bar exam?
Yep.
I love when you sign up for the bar exam because you got bored.
I mean, when I got back this summer from my hikes, I wasn't doing anything for like 5 months, just in my apartment, going to the gym every day, waking up late. Then finally, I was like, seems like a good time to study for the bar exam, and it's pretty much a full-time job. It's taking up all my free time, and so that's where my life is at right now.
So going into law school, is the dream to become like a conventional lawyer? I know there's a lot of different avenues that you can take with a law degree. Is that what you wanted to do?
I don't think I'm that young, ambitious guy anymore. I don't think I can do the long hours, take on the stress. So right now, I just like to give myself options without making commitments. So the plan is to take the bar exam, and once I get my results back, that's the time my job's only temporary, so that's the time my job will end, my lease will end. Pretty much I have options to do whatever.
Another through hike?
I don't know. I'm telling myself I should get back to the normal life, but I have options.
It's dangerous when a job ends and a lease ends at the same time. That's all I'm saying.
Is there part of you that feels like you have to squeeze in all these adventures before you get stuck in the corporate career grind, or?
That was exactly my mentality, to get it all out of the way in my 20s. And I guess I just did it for so long, and now I'm in my 30s, and I figure I should do something else. My priorities are shifting a little bit, so.
What's that like, balancing the change in priorities? Like, how mentally is it to go through that and say, I feel like maybe this is more for me now than that, or I feel pressured to do this over that? Can you walk us through that?
I feel like I've done quite enough through hiking. I did what I always wanted to do. I've seen almost all the places I wanted to go to, and there's not too many places at the top of my list anymore. It's an endless list, so you can't really complete the bucket list. But right now, I'm pretty happy with what I've done through hiking wise, and starting to get older, and I feel like there's other things to do, and I'm not as motivated anymore. Not as motivated as much to do spend like half the year hiking, maybe hike for a month or so, but half the year, it's quite a commitment. So
yeah. When you say that there's other things to do you mean other styles of adventures, or are you thinking more like you want to get career oriented and that sort of trajectory?
Both. Since my hike in Alaska, my 2020 hike in Alaska, I've been trying other things. I've done a motorcycle trip, a road trip, a few road trips, and it's been different, but I'm not exactly sure what I want to do anymore.
Yeah, that's fair. Welcome to most of people on Earth. We should definitely talk backpacking stuff.
I'm curious to know. So many.
Yeah, I'm curious to know, how'd you get the trail name Double Magic, and when did you get the trail name? Because I know a lot of people who've hiked the Colorado Trail who do the entire trail without getting a trail name. Was that where you got the trail name?
Yep, that was where I got it. Got it from my hiking partner, Johnny Walker, because when I was doing the Colorado Trail, I was eating pretty well, pretty much mountain houses every night. And I was hiking with my Johnny Walker, and we came across a Trail Magic box, and he was pretty psyched going through it. He was telling me how he wasn't eating well, and kind of felt bad for him. So I gave him a little bit of my Mountain House package, and he got Double Trail Magic. Gave him the name Double Magic.
I can only imagine how he got his trail name. Something whiskey related.
Yep, exactly that.
Johnny Walker's a good trail name.
It is a good trail name.
Especially if your name's John.
Yeah. Was his name John?
His name was John.
Let's go. Okay. Okay, so you graduate law school. A day later, you're on a flight to New Zealand to hike the TA. I guess before we get there, why the TA is a second hike? Because CT is kind of an unconventional first hike. TA is definitely a unconventional second hike, especially usually people in the U.S. do one of the Triple Crown trails first, and then they're like, oh, I need to skip across the pond. You started there.
It was because I was born in Vietnam, and since coming here, I never left the country. So I wanted to actually travel to a different country, and the TA was in season. It was, because I hiked the Colorado Trail during the summer, then the TA came in December. So it was like the next trail available.
Did you know on the CT that you wanted to do the TA? Like we're doing alphabet soup right now. Or when did that light bulb go off?
I think afterwards. After you finish the through hike, you're looking for the next adventure. And since that was in season and available, I was like, yep, might as well get to it.
Yeah. Were you able to lure Johnny Walker in that one as well?
No. We pretty much lost track of each other at the end, so we didn't finish together, but we hiked pretty much most of the Colorado Trail together.
When you chose the TA, because you just mentioned being born in Vietnam, not having left the country yet, was part of choosing the TA, besides the weather window, the proximity? Because I know that travel between Southeast Asia, Australia, and New Zealand is pretty common down there. No, okay.
No. I mean, I haven't been back to Vietnam, and my friends and family have been telling me to go back, but I really haven't felt the need to, even though, I mean, I've been to Japan and Nepal, been pretty close to Vietnam, but really there's nothing there for me. And when I'm traveling, it's usually for hiking, so there's really not that much hiking in Vietnam from what I can tell.
Yeah, I was going to ask, is there any sort of prominent long trail in Vietnam?
I have no idea.
Yeah. I feel like I should know that.
Okay, so you get on the Te Aurora, and what is it like now transitioning from your first big backpacking trip in the U.S. to one that's like 3 times the length and international? How are those differing?
That was a question I had, but once you're like 2 weeks in on the trail, I just knew I was gonna finish pretty much. It wasn't a problem or issue. It's just I love the lifestyle, and I wasn't gonna quit, and I was gonna finish.
Were there other people out there? What was it like, atmosphere like?
The TA is amazing. Just amazing people. A lot more international folks back then, so there weren't that many Americans on the trail. So I was meeting people from all over the world, and I was just embracing the lifestyle. It was amazing. The people in New Zealand, they're the friendliest people probably in the world. So
No natural predators? No, I think it's natural predators is what.
That sounds right to me.
Yeah.
Is that right? You've been there.
Predators.
There's no predators.
No.
Which is funny because Australia is nothing but predators.
Trying to kill you in every way. Yeah. But it makes sense that the people would also be equally friendly and welcoming.
Yeah, totally. You mentioned that it was a very international trail. Is there one country that you felt like the hikers were most represented by? Are there a lot of Aussies out there?
Germans.
Interesting.
Would
not have guessed that.
Well, there were a lot when I did the PCT. We noticed that there was a lot of Germans in the PCT.
I knew there were a lot on the AT when I hiked, but I had always attributed that to the fact that it was like the previous year, I think, or semi-recently, National Geographic had run a documentary on the AT in Germany. Oh. And that was like a walk in the woods effect for that country. I didn't know that had transcended to other trails. Yeah.
You have a lot of international trails on your list. Did you learn about a lot of these from people you met on the TA? Like, did they introduce you to other international hikes you could do?
I would say I drew inspiration from other hikers. There's one guy, never met the guy, but I see his blog, Trauma.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I pretty much drew a lot of inspiration from his hike and did quite a bit of the hikes he's done.
It was Pepper and Trauma that did the PCT Sobo in winter.
Yeah, they're hardcore hikers.
Yeah, we should try to get them on the podcast. Yeah, it'd be an amazing one. Yeah, sweet. Okay, so TA, anything else stand out? You love the culture out there. Obviously, seasonally it worked out for you. Is there anything else you want to relay to listeners about your hike?
It's probably changed. Because I hiked it in 2014, 2015, and that's a while ago, and I know it's changed.
Yeah.
It's probably gotten a lot more popular, and I haven't really been following what's going on over there, so I can't really say.
Yeah. Just from what I've noticed from my work at the Trek, is that definitely seems right. It seems like the first graduation, once people do the Triple Crown, is like people want an off-season hike, and obviously I know TA, especially the South Island, is supposed to be just magnificent. Is that your experience? So the South Island was superior to the North Island?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I know lots of people that are both on it and have done it.
So part of your demeanor is making it sound like everything was kind of just like easy and great and butterflies, because you're like, yeah, I knew I was going to finish 2 weeks in, like no problem. But starting to backpack, even though you went on a little backpacking trip to test out your gear, I'm sure you can't have just like nailed everything perfectly the first go round. So what kinds of things are you learning about your gear, your setup, how to navigate a through hike as you're going through these first 2 trails?
I mean, honestly, I don't feel like I knew what I was doing until after the Triple Crown.
Really?
Yeah. It's like, there's so much information out there. So if you do your research, you'll know how to hike any of the big 3 trails. But after that, you're on your own. If you want to do something else, do a route. You have to do your own research, draw your own routes, plan your own resupplies, and that's where you really start to learn. That's pretty much where I'm at. Right now, I don't think I would do any more established trails. I like to do my own thing, draw my own routes, usually in the middle of nowhere, somewhere really remote. That's my thing now.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we've talked a lot about these more common trails, so let's just go right into, I think, the meat of this. What was the first route that you drew, and why did you pick that particular location?
I mean, it would be Iceland, but that was following what previous hikers have done, like Trauma and other hikers going from north to south, a traverse of Iceland, north to south. Then I would say Norway, when I was hiking that end to end. That was something I drew up, but it was based on what other people have done previously. But if you ever look at the topo maps of Norway, it has an extensive network of trails. So if you look at it, it's pretty easy to draw a line from north to south and just connect what's not connected with road walking, and it's as easy as that.
Yeah. I guess let's start with Iceland. You mentioned that Trauma had already done this. So were you just following his intel, or how much of the research did you have to do organically for the first time?
I emailed him, and he gave me some pointers, but the rest I was just looking at a map and making my own route, and it was good. It was good. It was a good route, so I enjoyed it. And Iceland's an amazing place. I actually went back there not too long ago, and usually I don't go back to where I've gone before. I usually try to go to new places.
Yeah.
Interesting. So is that a mindset you have, where once I've been somewhere, I'm not going back there again?
Yep. There are just so many places to go hiking in the world that I feel like I could just go somewhere else.
Do you get attached to things? Because I feel like I get attached to places and I want to keep going back.
No, I don't think so.
No?
No, I was searching for something new.
Okay.
Is there one particular standout section or moment or landscape from the Iceland Traverse that stands out to you?
I do remember. There was this one time I was like high up on the ridge, and it was raining a little bit. I was looking down at the landscape, and it was just amazing. I took some pictures, but the pictures didn't do it justice. But Iceland overall, it's an amazing country. It's crowded nowadays, but once you go off trail into the interior, it's a lot. There's solitude in there. So
you mentioned that looking at a map that there is an extensive trail network out there. So how much of the Iceland Traverse is on single track versus just completely route finding?
When I was saying that, I was talking about Norway, but
Norway.
For Iceland, the information, the maps that I was using for Iceland wasn't that great. So it was a lot of unknowns, but it wasn't too bad. Some of the river crossings in Iceland, they were rough.
Tell us about them.
I mean, there was a few times that I felt like I could have been swept, and you don't want that to happen. That's an easy way to die. Especially after hiking in Alaska, you just see how serious the rivers are, and just one mistake in the river and you're a goner.
Were you turning back when you'd get into the river and realize that it was a little too treacherous, or are you pushing through? Like, what is that experience?
Pushing through. Pretty much trying to avoid getting to that point where the next step is 50-50, whether you're going to get swept or not. Try to not get to that point, but Iceland, you just had to push through on some fords. Then I also remember, like, some of the braided rivers, it's one way. So once you start and you're like angling down river, you just can't, there's no turning back. You got to make sure you actually see a way across before you start fording the river.
You mentioned that you had gotten some recon from Trauma for this traverse. Was that one of the things he warned you about?
No, I just emailed him. He sent me what he had, and I just used it. But I usually don't request information. I don't seek out too much information of hikes I'm planning. So there's usually a lot of unknowns.
Did you know to expect that the rivers would be like this, or did you have any past experience with water crossings, or was this kind of just a shock in the moment of I've got to adapt and figure out how to get through this?
Yep, that was it. That was because that was the first route idea that wasn't a established trail. So it was a good introduction into more hostile terrain.
How do you problem solve those sort of scenarios? Let's say you come up to your first river of all these big ones. You realize, I haven't done something like this before. I have no beta on it. How does your brain problem solve what to do to make sure that this thru hike is something that you come out of successful?
There's, for Iceland, usually you just hope for the best, and once you hit a river and it looks pretty bad, you just go upriver hoping for a better spot to cross, and luckily that was what happened. I was able to find better spots to cross, and it was still pushing it. I still have trauma from my river crossings in Iceland. But nowadays, I carry a pack raft, so that's less the case. If there's a more serious river I need to cross, I'm just going to blow up the boat. So...
That's got to be incredibly intimidating for this to be your first major off-trail experience in a foreign country. You mentioned that the maps were not all that reliable. How much scouting had you done on something like Cal Topo or Guy or anything like that?
None. I was just hoping for the best. And just figuring it out if I come to an obstacle.
Yeah. Is part of that just being new to the experience of route finding and not knowing the common tools? Or is that you being somewhat of a glutton for punishment and just like going into these environments being like, I'm going to figure my way out of it?
That would more, I would say, it's me just learning. Still me early on learning. Like I said, I didn't really know what I was doing till a few years into my thru hiking career. And at that point, I would still say I didn't know what I was doing. It was only until I was in Alaska 2018, that's when I felt ready for whatever I was going to face at that point.
Do you find that you're someone who doesn't often feel fear? Because a lot of these scenarios you're talking about, I mean, I'd be shitting my pants. So
same
for you to just just like the way you're saying it is so nonchalant, and I'm like, surely you were scared, right? Like you might because I would have been going nuts. So another person must have been scared. Is how my brain is rationalizing it. But it just seems like that you're just so level-headed about it. Is that true?
I mean, I've been doing this for a while, and I've seen worse. So trying to think back at it, it didn't seem too bad at the time. But I would say proper planning.
Yeah.
If you do your planning beforehand, there shouldn't be as many surprises. You'll know where the unknowns will be. So once you get there, you'll know what you'll be facing. But you shouldn't be. I would say you shouldn't be surprised that you'll be hitting an unknown. Those river crossings, it's not a surprise if you look at the map. It's just you don't know what's going to be there, but it's going to be a problem, and once you get there, you just have to figure it out.
Yeah.
Because there's only one way, and it's forward.
Sure.
Especially with, you only have so much food, so once you get to a certain point, you better figure out a way to keep on going because you can't really turn back, or you'll still run out of food that way.
Yeah. So, not to keep coming back to the Iceland experience, because obviously there's a lot of things to talk about here, but I'm just, this is interesting to me because this sounds like your first foray into this style of trekking.
Mm-hmm.
Do you consider that a mistake in terms of you didn't do enough research and that you were caught off guard, or is that something that you get off on? That's like a type 1 fun for you.
No, I would say that was a mistake.
Okay.
There's always more planning, and I could have always done more planning.
Yeah. So that was a learning lesson then. I assume the next trek you had done your due diligence.
I mean, like, after Iceland, I went to Norway, and the terrain was less hostile, and it was a lot there was a lot of river crossings, but it was nothing like Iceland. And those glacial rivers, those braided rivers, those and silty rivers where you can't see the bottom, and it'll be sandy on the bottom, so the your footing might dip down with the next step. It's just the terrain in Iceland. It could get hostile.
Do you ever think you were gonna die?
Oh yeah,
on that trail.
Yeah, I remember 2 river crossings, but I was pushing it.
Can you walk me through, like, in the moment, what was happening?
It was like, look forward, keep on going forward, because there's no turning back. It was because this was the best spot I could find across the river, and if I don't cross it here, I don't think there's another spot across it.
Has your thinking on this changed in terms of, like, I can't turn back? Because you could turn back. I know you mentioned the running out of food, but I feel like being hungry for a couple days is a better problem than ultimately deferring your law degree loans forever. Yeah, I mean, is there a part of you that thinks turning back is the responsible, smart decision?
Because once you get to the halfway point of your food supply, it's better to keep on going. Because if you turn back, you're gonna run out of food. And I would say no. I just want to complete what I start.
Yeah.
And there's always a way. There's always a way to push forward. Even though, I mean, it might sound like I'm taking a lot of unnecessary risks, but if you talk to my hiking partner, it's I really don't take as much risks as you think I'm taking.
Yeah, I do think you take risks, so it's interesting to hear you say
I'm
that.
getting a little bit of the impression that, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but that you would rather die trying to finish than turn back.
It's just the nature of the beast. Some places it's just a little bit more risk, and you just gotta accept it. There's really no safe way of doing it.
Do you get a thrill? Sorry to cut you off, John.
Oh, no, I was just going to give him an either or between the two.
Yeah, no, I cut you off. Go for it.
Would you rather... This could sound so fucked up. Would you rather turn back or potentially die trying to finish?
Let's remove the potential part of it because I have money.
I'm trying to word this like a little kindly.
Turn back or die.
I don't feel like I've ever gotten to that point. So... I'm gonna keep on going forward until I get to that point. But I don't think I've gone to points where it's what I'm doing is quite risky, but not to the point where I feel like I'm gonna die.
So you feel like you have control in all of these situations?
I feel like I know what I'm doing in most situations.
Okay, I'll take it.
I do want to talk more about this Norway trek because this one sounds, just based on how you described it, maybe a little bit more approachable for the average person, just based on the trail network out there. Is that an accurate assessment? Do you think that this is a more replicable trek for people?
I would say it's the northern equivalent of the TA. You got New Zealand, now you got Norway. I'm not sure how popular it is. How much have you been hearing about it?
Not much, yeah.
Yeah, because...
if we've talked about it in this podcast, I've forgotten about it. I will leave it at that, yeah.
Because the biggest obstacle with hiking Norway end to end is you only have 90 days because that's how long your visa is going to be. So hiking it in 90 days, you got to do it. You got to be serious about it. You got to make some miles. I pretty much had to hike the perfect hike to be able to finish.
What's the distance on this one?
2,900 kilometers.
Okay.
So the TA is 3,000 kilometers, Well, when I'm hiking in a foreign country, I think in kilometers, so I'm not sure how much that is in miles.
Yeah.
This is telling me 2 million miles. That's not.
Yeah, I got a bad result too.
So
1,800 miles. So 1,800 miles in 30 or 90 days, 3 months, 600 miles a month, a little bit, 10% more than a Colorado trail per month. Yeah, you're right. That's an aggressive timeline.
And I was hiking like all day. I tried to do 16 hours a day, but that wasn't sustainable. I pretty much settled on 15 hours a day. At the end, it was 14 hours, given the amount of light. And
are you doing this during the summer?
Yep.
So it's very long days. What kind of days are we looking at here?
You could hike as long as you want for most days.
Yeah.
I know the amount of hours that I could sustain, so 15 hours was the right amount for me. And I pretty much finished on day 88, I would say, day 88. Then on day 89, I spent all day taking the bus and hitching back to Oslo. And then day 90, flew out just to get it out in time. But the thing is, I made it a little bit more difficult because I was in Iceland for 2 weeks before. So that's 14 days less than I could have had.
So when you're hiking 15-hour days, are you doing like 5 a.m. to 8 p.m.? What's your start and end times?
What is that? It would be 7 to 10.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you were going late into the night.
There was still out daylight.
Really? What time does the sun set over there?
In the summer, I imagine it's almost around the clock, right? Around the solstice. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's pretty far north. Do you have to bring an eye mask to sleep, or are you so tired at the end of the day that it doesn't matter?
I'm pretty much done.
Yeah.
I'll be able to pass out even if the sun is out.
Yeah.
That's not a problem.
I'm so sensitive to light that like a little bit of the street light coming into the room fucks me up. Like I sleep with an eye mask most nights. There's more I want to talk about this. Like, given the fact that you feel so compelled to finish something that you started, was this a stressful trek knowing that you were on a limited timeline?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I only took half a day off on that trail just to go get new shoes at the halfway point. And I was carrying an extra pair of shoes because I couldn't figure out the logistics. So when I started out the hike, I had an extra pair of shoes to get me to the halfway point, then carried an extra pair of shoes at the halfway point to get me to the end. So 4 pairs of shoes.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, like I said, I had to do a perfect hike to be able to finish that trail. But
yeah.
Norway, it's worth it. It's amazing. Like I said, it's like the northern equivalent of the TA.
So to do this in 90 days, you have to average 20 miles per day. You said obviously you have less than that because there's travel days involved with that. What kind of terrain are we looking at? If you can describe it in Triple Crown terms, which trail are we looking at?
I would say the AT or the TA.
Okay, so it's an ass kicker.
Oh, yeah. Like I don't think I was ever able to do a 30-mile down in Norway, except for the road walking on the big trails. 30 miles is what I'm usually averaging.
What are the logistics with resupplying? How is that cutting into your time? How far is it to a town to resupply?
I planned it, so I was walking through all the towns. I don't think I had a hitch to any of them.
Nice.
There were some long carries. I think I broke a record with the longest carry on that trail, almost 300 miles, 280 or 290, but it was a big one.
How heavy is your pack with a 300-mile food carry?
I have no idea. I really don't care.
Yeah. And how many days is that? 15, something, 12?
Yep, that sounds right. 15 over 2 weeks.
Whew.
You're just a machine, aren't you?
I'm not that fast of a hiker. I'm just more of a efficient hiker.
Yeah.
So that's how I make my miles.
How big is your pack?
I use a ULA circuit. That's been my go-to pack since I started, I believe.
That's a good pack.
Not since my second trail. So I've never switched because I tend to do heavy carries when I need to, and nowadays with the hikes I do, it's just I need to carry more.
Yeah. How many circuits have you been through?
I mean, they're pretty much bomber-proof, so I switched sizes to figure out what I wanted, but I remember 1, 2, 3. I'm on my 4th one. But really, I only took 1 to its death.
Yeah.
And that was like after 11 through hikes. So.
Oh, wow.
So you're getting, on average, 6,000 miles out of one of those? It's not bad.
It's more than that. It's just I was switching to figure out what I wanted.
Yeah.
And now I know what I want. And they don't change it. They don't change their design. They're pretty much making the same reliable, dependable pack. So that's what I like.
Yeah, if it's not broke.
Definitely.
You mentioned that you're not a particularly fast hiker. As president of the Slow Hikers Club, welcome. It's great to have you. Do you have tips for hiking efficiently? Because I think that's something where people might think to go far they have to go fast, but you can also just maximize your day. And it sounds like you've really been able to nail that down. What are your tips for a efficient hiking day?
Pretty much eating on the go. Because when I'm hiking, I'm just walking at my regular walking pace. I'm not pushing myself. That's, I found, unsustainable for a long period of time. So I'm just walking normally. And eating on the go, I only take 1 break a day for lunch, 30 minutes. A little bit after lunchtime at the halfway point. Then from then, I'm just walking the rest of the time.
Do you find going slower at like a walking pace versus a hiking pace helps alleviate risk of injury or different things that could throw off a perfect hike?
Absolutely. That's one of the main reasons why I just don't push myself. Just go at what my body wants me to go, and it's usually mentally. I try going at someone else's pace, and I just can't keep up, and I'll just burn out. And it's just less efficient that way.
Talk to me a little bit more about nutrition. So eating on the go you're laughing right now, but obviously you're a fit guy. I'm assuming you put thought into your nutrition on a day-to-day basis.
Not during a through hike. I pretty much eat the same thing every day.
Which is?
A ramen bomb for lunch, and my dinner, 1/2 pound of potato chips, 1/2 pound of candy at night when I'm in my tent, just stuffing myself, and just snacks the rest of the day.
Okay.
Whatever I want to eat.
Yeah. I love this. What is your candy spread? We open your pack, what are we finding?
Fruit roll-ups. That's like my go-to candy. That's pretty much, I had a 1/2 pound of fruit roll-ups for every day when I was hiking in Alaska.
That's awesome.
I'm not kidding you. I did a spreadsheet because Alaska is more serious. I had a spreadsheet of all my foods, and it was 1/2 pound of potato chips. So that's just a regular potato chip bag, and a 1/2 pound of fruit roll-ups.
Are you doing anything to talk about efficient hiking to make the space in your pack more efficient when it comes to potato chips? Because I find that those are hard to pack efficiently.
It's you just open it up a little bit and smash it down and
so
take a rubber band and wrap it. That's it.
So you're just eating crumbs the entire time?
Yep. And it's amazing. It's amazing.
I'm curious to know on these international hikes, because that's one of my favorite things about traveling is seeing the various snacks that you can't find in other places. Is there a snack or two that stands out to you from any of these treks? You're like, I wish we could source that in the States?
I'm not sure. Usually it's usually a compromise when I'm hiking international. Just try to find something that resembles what I'm used to eating in the U.S.
Yeah.
But potato chips is pretty much an international snack. That's the big thing I have to have at candies. So I'll just try the various candies I would find in those countries, and everything else just snacks.
Snacks.
So,
what's your go-to potato chip flavor?
It usually has to be the hard ones. So the kettle cooked chips. Usually that's what I go with. Just regular potato chips. That's fine with me. But there's all kinds of flavors. That's why I don't get sick of it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm craving at the end of the day.
Are you supplementing at all on trail?
Yeah. I realize it. I'm not sure if it helps, but it feels like it's helping. So I'll pop a calcium pill daily and a multivitamin daily.
Sure.
But
probably not a bad idea because not too much nutrition in the potato chips and fruit roll-ups. So
exactly.
Good to cover your bases.
I mean, during one through hike, it shouldn't be a problem. But once you're doing multiple through hikes, one after another, that's when you feel your body's starting to break down. And that's why I started popping supplements, and it seems like it's helping.
Do you ever take the fruit roll-ups and like mush them all together and then smush them into the potato chip crumbs?
No, I like it separately.
Okay.
I mean, when I'm really serious about it, I'll take a needle and pop it just to
feel alive.
No, just to make it just to fit more in my pack. Take out the air.
That was such a specific question.
I just think it would taste good. Like a little texture on the outside, a little crunch, a little soft on the inside.
Someone needs to run that experiment.
Yeah, I volunteer.
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna taste good.
We don't have fruit roll-ups.
You're just gonna ruin the potato chips and the fruit roll-ups. That's just.
I don't know. This could be my next big trail snack.
Sweet. So, would you recommend this trek to somebody, the average international trekker looking for something to add to their bucket list? It sounds obviously very challenging from a time constraint standpoint, but logistically a lot easier than the Iceland Traverse.
I would recommend it for more Triple Crowners. So usually after you finish the Triple Crown, you'll want to do something like New Zealand, but most people are not looking to Norway, and it's amazing up there. And definitely attainable if you're a Triple Crowner. It's not that bad as long as, and you could always split it up into 2 years. So.
Yeah. Before we move on from food, I'll give you an unsolicited fruit roll-up tip. If you are looking for your next tasty snack, if you take those pretzel rods, the ones that are like the thickness of a finger, but like the pretzel.
The cigars.
Yeah, they're like, it's like this long pretzel rod. And you take a fruit roll-up and you wrap it around the pretzel rod. Amazing snack.
Really?
Yeah, it took third grade by storm, but we all started doing it. Highly recommend for your next hike. Get back to us and let me know how it goes.
So I've got next here on your trail resume. You did the Hayduke in 2017.
Was that?
Is that correct?
20.
If it's not, Rachel's fired. So better be right.
That's usually how I think about it. I think about it in terms of years because I'm doing multiple hikes in a year. So 2015, was that 2016? I think that was 2016. Let me think.
Rachel's fired.
We've got the PNT as 2016. And then...
Okay, yeah, that was 2017. She was right. So 2017 is when I went international. The Scottish National Trail, the Iceland Traverse, Norway end-to-end, then the Hayduke all in the same year. So, yeah, she was right.
It's a big year.
That's a very big year, especially considering the difficulty of these hikes. How tired are you after this Norway hike?
I pretty much keep on going. But it's the end of the season, and I really don't care. Hiking in the snow is a lot harder, and I don't really care for that.
Yeah. So physically, you're just end the trail feeling in top shape?
Pretty much.
Do you attribute that to the fact, I mean, obviously, your age helps with that. How old are you in 2017?
I have no idea.
Okay. Yeah, that's a lot of math. I don't know do you know how old you were in 2017?
Yeah, 32.
I don't think I was.
What about?
I don't. Yeah.
What about 2014? How old were you then?
Just subtract 3 from that.
I know, but you're just doing it so fast.
It's like when I do a new trail, I'm not thinking about the previous trail. It seems like ages ago. So my mindset's on the trail I'm doing right then, and everything else was eons ago.
Okay.
What kind of things do you miss when you're on trail? Like standard living under a roof, eating foods from a grocery store, day-to-day things.
I don't think I'm missing riding my motorcycle. I don't think I'm missing much. I'm pretty comfortable with the gear I have to feel quite at home in my tent. And I'm stuffing myself when I'm in town, so I'm pretty much satisfying all my cravings.
Which country has better food between Scotland, Iceland, and Norway? You mentioned stuffing yourself in town. I'm curious if there was one of those trails that stood out to you as like, this is a culinary experience I'd like to repeat.
I mean, I'm not spending too much money on food, or I'm not eating anything special or local, so I really don't know. It's just during that time, I was pretty much a budget hiker, so I wasn't trying to spend too much on food. I was eating pretty much the basic.
I guess to that point, how do you make this work financially? Because you're fresh out of school. It sounds like you're spending a lot of your year on trail. How are you making this work? Are you Chase's favorite customer?
Too. No, I'm not rich. Not paying rent. So I was living at home during that time, and I was pushing carts at the local Sam's Club. So not paying rent, just walking to work, walking around all day, then walking home. Pretty much I had minimum expenses, just food, and I was able to save up enough to be able to go hiking during the summer. But that was
And do you get a discount at Sam's Club? That seems like the ultimate hiker hack, is an already wholesale discounted grocery store and then getting a discount on top of that. Is that a thing?
I wasn't really shopping there. It's mostly, I wasn't really shopping there. More of a Walmart. I mean, I lived right next to a Costco and a Sam's Club and a Walmart. So, but yeah, that was the early days. Then the later years, I had a side hustle, made a small fortune in a short period of time, and that was
Go on.
We're not cruising past it.
Yeah, we're ready to invest. Just tell us where.
This is like when we had the what was the family's name?
The Carpenters?
Carpenters.
It wasn't Ben.
Yeah, Ben. Was that his last name? When Ben was, we had a family on, and the guy just mentioned in passing that he was an entrepreneur, and we're like, and go on. And he had led like a card reading ring.
Yeah.
It was insane. There's a Netflix show about it.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's let them know the episode number.
Crawford.
The Crawfords, yes.
Shit, that's pretty close.
Yeah, the Holy Rollers.
Yeah.
Okay, so small fortune. What did you do?
I mean, I would tell you, but I mean, it would be better if the camera's off.
Was it illegal?
Are you gigolo?
It was legal. It was legal, but it was only for a short period of time. Made a good amount of money, and that allowed me to hike wherever I wanted to hike.
So if we have Rachel or if we have Sarah put like a picture of a cat over the screen at this part, or like something that's like not the camera rolling, and we just have the audio going.
Yeah, can we get at least a hint maybe?
Yeah.
And then we can guess, and then you can blush when we get it right.
I mean, I guess you were talking about it's
Gigolo. So you were
gigolos.
No, he's a guest. So
okay.
So something card reading.
I mean, it's gonna go on your podcast, huh?
Yeah, a lot of people are gonna hear this.
So I made a good amount of money in a short period of time. And that gave me the financial freedom to pretty much hike wherever I wanted in the world the last few years, and not really having to work.
Yeah.
Okay, what about this? What if, instead of saying it into the microphone, what if you come over here and whisper it in my ear, and I won't say it out loud, but then at least I'll know?
I'll tell you after the podcast.
Okay.
I don't really care to hide it, but I'm kind of still doing it to this day, and on the side, it's not as profitable, but it's making some change. So.
Is it online poker?
No.
Oh,
okay. I don't think, is that still a thing? No.
I think it's still a thing, right? I feel like I lose enough money sports gambling that I feel like people are
playing
poker.
I'm trying to think what, is it drop shipping? Are we?
Drop shipping?
I don't know. It's legal. It's legal.
There's nothing even remotely illegal about that.
No, drop shipping's legal.
That's what I'm saying.
He said it was legal.
Yeah.
So both are legal?
Yeah, I think the implication was that it was at least somewhat scandalous.
I don't know. I'm just trying to narrow things down.
Yeah.
I mean, you know in a little bit.
Yeah, I know.
It's going to be hard for me to move on from that.
I know, same.
All right, but we will. Okay, so you win the lottery. This is at the end of which hike?
This is the last few years. So
okay.
Before then, I was pushing carts as Sam's Club, and I was pretty good at it. You know, just walking around all day, no stress.
Sure, and good training for your hikes too, right?
Exactly. I didn't have to do any other training besides that. And since I was good at it, they were always willing to hire me back every time I came back from my hikes. So I always had a job, and it made me enough money to go hiking the next summer. So that's all I really wanted at the time.
Yeah. You were probably half-assing the cart pushing and still the best cart pusher of all time, just based on...
I was the best cart pusher
I'm sure you were.
ever had.
Sure, yeah. This guy's the best goddamn cart pusher.
How do you feel about people that don't return their carts to the proper cart drop-off locations?
I don't care.
Is that better job security for you, or are they just assholes? If that's the spectrum...
It doesn't bother me.
Okay.
That's the good thing about the job.
What about in the cart pusher circle?
Oh, yeah, they don't like it. It's going to create some drama.
Yeah. What are some other inside baseball cultural quirks of the cart pusher world? Like Chance mentioned, they don't like the fact that some people don't return their carts to the cart return area. Are there other things in the world of cart pushing that the average person might not know about?
I mean, once we push in our carts, pretty much we could chill until more carts are outside. So we just do our rounds, chill, hang out with the boys. It's mostly young dudes doing the job. So it was a good time.
Yeah.
I missed the job. I would probably say it's the best job I've ever had.
Yeah.
Did it for a few years.
Went to law school, did the bar. Best job I ever had is being the best cart pusher alive. That is amazing. Do you have any other...
Was it card counting?
I just called you Garrett. I was like, Garrett. Does it have to do with the fact that if you... like, because you're making a lot of money and you have these loans deferred, we don't want the government to know?
I mean...
Yeah, don't tell us if that's the case.
No,
Definitely don't
say
tell
no,
us.
but, like, close your eyes for 3 seconds.
I made most of my money during COVID when all the student loans payments were paused, so...
Oh, so loophole.
So the government was taking my money except for taxes.
Okay.
One thing we haven't talked about yet, which we chatted about before you got here, is your current job is in Homeland Security.
What a resume. What?
Right? Did I get that right?
Yeah. We could talk about that. I mean, you know, after I got back from my hiking this summer, I thought I was retired. I was trying to resume my life that I had previously. So I told myself I was going to get a job. It never happened. But then my friend reached out and she asked me if I wanted a job. No interview, work from home, part-time, temporary. So it wasn't a big commitment. It was like, man, it would be kind of dumb to say no to that job. So, yeah, now I'm back in the office working.
For Homeland Security?
It's for the government. I mean, I'm not doing anything really related to Homeland Security. The division deals with other stuff, but not really security related.
You're so mysterious. You are so mysterious. What are some other secrets of the grocery world? Like, what are things that, like, Sam Club doesn't want us to know?
That's the title of the YouTube video.
I mean, I still shop there, and I'm not paying for the membership. There's ways to get around from it, but...
Is it like a back door you have to enter through or something?
No, I just know how the system works, so... Yeah, I don't think... No one... Yeah. So... Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna toss a big swerve.
Do it.
You had mentioned when we were talking about the river crossings and them not being super scary, you had said that's not the worst thing that has happened. I've had way worse happen. So now I want story time because I love stories, but I want the worst thing that's happened.
I mean, I'll
go get you another drink if you want.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I've had some life and death experiences during my hikes. I mean, like, if we're talking about river crossing, because Alaska, you pretty much, that's the dangerous thing about Alaska, it's the river crossings. And when I was up there, I was still carrying a pack raft. I didn't know how to pack raft. I pretty much learned how to pack raft up in Alaska by myself.
Did you at least watch like a YouTube video or anything? Or you just brought the raft?
I blew it up once, got in it, so it was enough. But the thinking was, I knew I needed a pack raft when I was traversing Alaska. But I figured I'm a hiker. I'll just hike most of the time and cross rivers when it's pretty mellow. So not anything serious, but Alaska had different plans. So a week, I don't think, it was pretty much within a week when I started my trip. I was thrown off my boat, hanging on for dear life. Pretty much, if I had let go of my boat and my gear, I would have been stranded in the middle of nowhere, Alaska, with no way to get help because I don't carry inReach either. So I had no way to call for help. And yeah, that's just one of those experiences you learn from. And it really shows you how serious the rivers can be.
You say that's one of the experiences that you learn from. How many learning lessons are ingrained in that experience, and what was the biggest one for you? Because I can't believe you would go into something like that without a inReach or something.
Yeah, it's pretty uncommon. It's pretty stupid. If you talk to anybody who's done anything in Alaska, everybody carries that communication device. I mean, I don't carry one, but my hiking partner does, but we're still hiking through hiker style, so we're not together half the time.
Okay.
So there's some safety net with that, but usually I always hiked without inReach, and that's what I'm used to in Alaska. I didn't change that.
How?
How?
Like, how did that not change you carrying one?
I mean, I hike with the mentality that if I get myself in a pickle and if I can't get myself out, I'm a dead man. So usually I try to be more risk adverse, try not to take any unnecessary risks. I mean, I do take risks, but they have to be necessary.
Would you say that showing up to the Brooks Range Traverse without knowing how to pack raft is an unnecessary risk?
That was a learning experience after doing it so many times. I would say I'm competent at least, so now it's not an issue, but that's the big thing about the Brooks Range. You should know how to pack raft if you go up there, and I don't know how you would learn if you live in the lower 48, so.
See, this goes back to the would you rather turn back or die question, because I feel like to still choose to not have like a sat nav or something after these crazy experiences, like wouldn't you want that backup reassurance of if I find myself in this situation, at least I have this as an option before dying?
I would say, the first thing I would say is pack raft. They're quite capable. More capable than I've ever actually. I don't think I've seen its maximum capabilities. So when I like the first few days during my traverse of Alaska, I had to put my boat in the river at spots I didn't want to, but the boat took it no problems. It was actually not that bad thinking about it now after getting more experience with pack rafting.
So is it safe to say for a trek like that, boat or die.
That's why river crossings aren't too bad anymore, because if I think I'm gonna encounter serious rivers, I'll have my pack raft, and it's a lot easier just floating across and trying to avoid some serious rivers.
So how did you end up dangling out of this pack raft holding on for dear life? What was the error that you made that wouldn't be a repeat situation in the future?
I mean, it wasn't even a serious section. I let down my guard. It was during a bend. I just got slammed into the bank, and eventually I was able to stop myself just steady up, because it wasn't that serious, but it really put me on notice of how easy just one simple mistake will cost you your life up there.
Yeah, totally. I that's my mantra for most things in life. Obviously, backpacking is no exception. So, I'm curious, what is the thinking in not using an inReach? You mentioned that your hiking partner has one when you're with him. Was your hiking partner with you on the Brooks Range?
No, he started like a few days ahead of me.
So effectively, you're out there by yourself.
Pretty much.
So, is it a frugality thing? Is it a weight thing? Is it a stubbornness thing? That is
too, yeah. Screw the weight, and I really don't want to pay another monthly fee. And I'm just used to not hiking with one, so I've never felt the need to hike.
Yeah. Has your thinking on that changed?
No. It's still the same.
Do you carry bear spray in Alaska?
You know,
you seem like someone who doesn't.
When my first trip up in Alaska, you can't really fly with bear spray. You can't really ship it. So when I got to my first town, the locals thought I was crazy, not having any bear spray. And
don't they sell it up there?
No,
they don't.
It's hard to get.
Huh?
You pretty much have to get it by ship. So yeah, they thought I was crazy, and they gave me a can of bear spray, and I felt obligated to carry it the entire way. But the thing about Alaska, the bears are really not a problem.
To who?
You're gonna encounter a lot of bears, but after being up there for a few years, I've probably seen over 100 bears, and only 1 or 2 gave me problems. And
Isn't
it's
that all
pretty
that
much
it takes?
my fault. It was mostly my fault.
What did you
I
do
sense
wrong?
a story, yeah. So what happened?
Oh, so I've been charged by a bear, and it was the last day before I was set to finish the hike. I mean, and at that point, I pretty much, this was 2020, so at that point, I pretty much seen over like 100 bears during that hike, and what's one more? But this one, he was on the beach, and I knew it was a bad idea to walk towards him, because I had bear spray in one hand, my phone in the other, and when you're doing that, it's probably a bad idea. And I thought he was just gonna run away like any other bear, but I also thought he was like protecting a cache. And what do you know? I kept on walking, and before I knew it, I was looking at my phone, recording him, and he was charging at me.
Do you have this video on you today?
I think it's on my Instagram. More than anything,
we both started reaching.
Keep going.
I was surprised, because after 100 bears, no problems, this one actually charged me. I was going, you can see it in the video how surprised I was.
Yeah, what time frame are we looking at here?
Yeah. Also, what happened? Like,
yeah, it was a bluff charge.
Okay, so he just stopped.
Yep, he stopped. I think you'll see it in the video.
What's your Instagram handle?
Quack, quack, Colorado.
That's it.
I'm on it right now. Your photos are incredible, by the way. So obviously, I went to the end of your Instagram, and it didn't jump out at me, but I'm sure you're just.
I think it's somewhere in there.
Okay, so are you afraid at this point?
Yeah. Afterwards, I actually detoured quite a bit around him after he was so aggressive. But at the time, my hiking partner was like 10 minutes behind me, so I felt obligated to wait and warn him that this bear coming up is not friendly. Then we detoured around him, and Yeah, the thing was, it was like the day before we were reaching our end point. So I was like, man, that would have sucked.
Yeah.
Dying.
That would have sucked.
Dying right at the end.
But you make the sound. You said there were 2 instances, so now there's a second time something like this is happening.
The other one wasn't too bad.
What happened there?
I mean, I had my head down, walking, didn't realize I was approaching a grizzly. Then when I saw him, I took out my camera. And I guess I made too much noise and he noticed me. Then he started walking away. Perfectly fine, like most bears. So I started walking, then I turned around and I saw him starting to circle me. I was going, what? Then he started to run towards me. Then I was in the brush at the time. I was going, oh man, it's gonna get down. It's gonna go down. So I was trying to make my way to an open area, because, yeah, if I was gonna get mauled, I wanted to be on the high ground. So I started rushing to this hill, or this bump in the clearing, and before I knew it, he ran away. But yeah, I thought I was gonna go mano a mano with that grizzly.
Have you found the video?
No. Look at all these funky potato chips in it.
I told you. I wasn't kidding. I think you might see fruit roll-ups.
That's amazing.
There's no air in this car.
It's like a Corolla. The whole entire backseat is just full of potato chips.
Boxes
Did you think I was lying?
I'm taking a screenshot of that.
Is the
I mean, is there another photo? I think if you go over, you'll see my fruit roll-ups, right?
Hold please.
Is this grizzly charge in 2020?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Is that? See, I'm not kidding.
You should reach out for a sponsorship. Okay, I'll find this by the end of the episode.
I'm taking screenshots. Okay, we're gonna post these somewhere because this is incredible.
Was it cryptocurrency?
No. I tried it. I didn't lose money, but I didn't make money for crypto.
We'll get there. Well, shit. Has your relationship with grizzlies changed? Because you mentioned that, hundreds of good experiences, but I feel like a couple of bluff charges is enough to put the soil in the pants.
That was my fault. I knew I was approaching a bear that was protecting its food cache.
Yeah.
Because I had a camera in my hand. I knew something was probably going to happen.
Is this the video?
No, not that one. I think that's me waving at
this one's bear. Captioned, Knots always likes to send me out as the guinea pig to see if the bears are friendly.
Yeah, this is bothering me that I can't find it.
Well, you could see there he is, and there's
I already watched that one. I've already gone through a lot of videos here. Okay, well, people should check out Quoc's Instagram. The photos are legit incredible. Is this just with your iPhone?
Oh, I found it. Oh,
let's go.
Oh, okay. It was the second one.
Do you have audio?
Yeah, I do. Hold on, let me.
Watch, you was hear how surprised I am that he actually charged me.
Oh, you don't want to do that.
He's walking away from me at this point. Did we miss the charge? Or
it's right at the beginning. I didn't capture most of the charge.
I got it.
I think it got deleted or something. But yeah, I was like, whoa.
You sound very calm for...
Yeah, you're telling the grizzly bear you don't want to do that.
I mean, I'm pretty reluctant to spray a bear. I mean, I have to actually feel like he's going to attack me before I spray a bear. And he was like one step away from me actually feeling like I was going to die. But he didn't get there, and I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to spray him, and I didn't spray him.
I feel like that's a good policy because that just will make a bear mad. You don't want to agitate a grizzly. I feel like.
I mean, I'm in his home turf. I don't want to be a dick.
Yeah.
I mean, and if I spray a bear, he's gonna have a bad day, and I don't want to get there.
So we were talking about learning experiences. Is this now? Do you approach grizzlies differently? Like, is that a situation that you would avoid in the future, or was the thrill of being charged something that you're after.
No, the thing is, I see bears as intelligent creatures. So usually they just want to be left alone, and if you leave them alone, they're not going to be a problem. So it's really not a concern. Bears are really not a concern for me.
Yeah.
Compared to my hiking partner, man, I did like cry bear every time at night when we have a bad encounter. I don't know how he survives Alaska, but it's impressive.
What are you afraid of? Just like, what are your fears in life?
Mice. Bears, mountain lions, wolves. I don't care about, but mice. Yeah, I don't do mice. I'm willing to admit that. So like
why?
AT never stayed at a shelter ever. I wouldn't camp anywhere near a cabin or a shelter where there's a possibility of mice.
Is this like a practical fear that it's gonna eat through your gear, or is it just more of like it being around you gives you the heebie-jeebies?
Disgusting. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've only had one bad encounter with mice. It was on the PNT. I was post-holing all day up in the snow. It was snowy. Had to drop down and find a camping spot. I found a camping spot. It was the first dry camping spot. Pitched my tent, cooked my food, and like in the corner of my eyes, I thought I saw mice running, and I was just had to man up because there were mice running around.
Okay, let me ask you this. You've got a room, right? Like, let's picture this wall's not here, and it's like here to that, like that wall over there.
Mm-hmm.
You've got 3 rooms that are this size, and in one is a mountain lion, in one is a grizzly bear, and in one is 7 mice. Which room are you going in? You have to stay in
if
it
you're
for a
in
while.
a room with those wild animals, they're gonna kill you. So if I don't want to die, it's gonna be the mice. But if it's like in an open area, I don't mind the bears and the wolves and the mountain lions.
Okay.
Now that we're on your Instagram, it looks like you're a bit of a gym fanatic.
Yeah, it's what I do in the off season. Stay in shape.
Yeah.
And it's cheap, just a monthly fee, and I'm pretty consistent at it.
Yeah.
I mean, you are too.
Well, I'm not this.
No, you're not that. Finally, something we can agree on. What you're not.
Yeah. For those who are not watching on YouTube, we're looking at what appears to be like
set of abs.
a 12-pack, something in the range of like 3 to 4, maybe 5% body fat, but not anything higher than that. What does your routine look like? I also see your hashtags. You've got intermittent fasting, no calorie counting, French fries daily.
That wasn't a good diet, but that allowed me to drop weight, but it wasn't really a sustainable diet.
Is it just intermittent fasting is the secret to the nutritional success?
I'm trying other things. It does work, but I rather just try to eat normally, and that's what I'm doing right now. It seems it's working all right.
Yeah. So with you being in the gym so often, are you trying to hit a certain protein threshold, or what? Like, do you have any sort of nutritional approach, or is it just a normal diet and just being at the gym a lot?
The gym is more of a because I have nothing else to do. It's just a distraction. But I'm pretty. There's not too much variety with my day. I pretty much, like right now, pretty much eat the same thing every day. Oatmeal and berries for breakfast, chicken and rice, chicken or pasta for lunch and dinner. And yeah, that's good enough for me.
Are you ever craving a fruit roll-up?
No, I actually don't crave it off trail. potato chips or fruit roll-ups. I don't really crave it off trail. It's just on trail when I'm through hiking.
Yeah,
you're such an interesting person.
You're the most interesting person in the world. To go from like possibly the junkiest diet of all time to the most disciplined diet of all time is very funny. There's nothing not funny about that. Yeah, that's awesome. Geez, where do we go? Okay, let's talk.
I mean, that's the time where you can eat anything without gaining weight when you're through hiking. So make the most out of it. And when you're not through hiking during the off season, you have to watch what you're eating because you see a lot of through hikers. They continue to eat as much as they're eating on trail, and they're gaining weight.
I've certainly been there before. I've gotten soft post-trail because your appetite's still there, and then you're just burning 2,500 fewer calories in a day or more.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's winter and you're depressed.
Yeah.
The bad thing about this is we record our interviews now, so you can literally watch my weight fluctuate.
Are you so at the gym? Are you training for your next through hike, or is it just something to do to pass time?
Pretty much something to do to pass time. Usually during the last month, that's when I'm really focusing on the muscles that I would need.
Okay.
But that would be like at the end. I'm just focusing on a few certain compound lifts, pull-ups, deadlift, and running. Those are the three main things.
No squat?
I mean, running and deadlift, that's enough leg exercises.
That's fair. No, when I do squats, I feel like I have to take 2 to 3 days off of any sort of like cardio because I can't walk. So yeah, I found that it can be counterproductive, especially if you push it too hard. Yeah, there's still so many hikes to talk about. I want to know, so you mentioned that obviously you've spent a lot of time in Alaska. I see in 2018 you did the Brooks Range Traverse, and then in 2020 you did the Alaska Traverse. I'm familiar with the Brooks Range Traverse because is that what Skirka did during?
What he did was amazing.
Was that the Brooks Range?
Part of it. He did do the Brooks Range.
Okay.
But his loop included a lot more.
Okay. Yeah, I guess walk us through each of these hikes, how they differed. Tell me the difference between the Brooks Range Traverse and the Alaska Traverse.
So the Brooks Range, Alaska's wild.
Okay.
I mean, it was always one of my goals early on to do something in Alaska, and at that point, I felt like I was ready. Except for the pack rafting part. I had to learn that on the way. But it's pretty, I would say it's pretty attainable for most serious triple crowners. There's just a few key differences. The resupplies are a lot further. Usually average resupply would be 200 miles. And you're also carrying a pack raft. So that's like 9 extra pounds minimum, and just heavy pack and off-trail hiking. The navigation is not too bad in the Brooks Range. It's pretty much following one river to the next. You don't want to wander away from the river because that's where the animal trails are. And if you ever seen photos of the Brooks Range, it might seem like it's all open, go anywhere, do anything, but nah, that's not it. That's all tussocks, and you don't want to go out there. It's no man's land. It's rough out there.
In terms of the animal trails, you mean like it's just game trails and it can lead you astray, or it's dangerous because there's so many presumably grizzlies?
It's game trails. It's pretty much easier hiking. It's pretty much like hiking on a man-made trail. So that's why you want to stay near the river, follow the rivers, and the hiking isn't too bad. And there's hiking long distance in Alaska. There's just so many options you could do, because what we were doing, we didn't do any airdrops. All of our resupplies was village to village, so the logistics was pretty easy. Just shipping food to the post office in these various villages and just going from one village to the next.
Can we go back to the game trail thing? 'Cause I'm confused by that. I would assume that hiking on the game trails would be easier if it feels like a man-made trail, but you're saying that you want to avoid that. Is that because
No, I mean, you want to avoid straying from it.
Oh, okay.
He's saying the game trails are by the rivers.
Yeah.
Got
but
it.
if you leave the rivers, you leave the game trails.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you for clarifying.
And it's all tussocks up in the Brooks Range. It's mostly tussocks, and you don't want to go out there. It's rough.
Yeah. The other thing I know about Alaska, which would be a non-starter for me, is mosquitoes.
Actually, wasn't too bad.
No?
Yeah, I think I got a good handle of it after experiencing Norway. It's like I wasn't really prepared for that one, but when Alaska was after Norway, and I didn't do much different except long pants and a lot of bug spray and a head net, of course. And other than that, it wasn't too much of a problem.
So you're covered head to toe, head net as well in Alaska, and so the bugs are bad. You're just able to manage it better.
I would say the bugs weren't too bad.
Okay. So are you hiking with the head net on for most of the day?
Sometimes. When it gets bad, you put it on. Then when it's not, you take it off.
Yeah. How bad was it in Norway?
I mean, I was hiking in shorts in Norway. That was a mistake. I mean, I had wind pants, but you when you're up in the Arctic, you should be hiking with pants. And I don't think I didn't have bug spray in Norway either.
Are you just getting chewed alive?
I was. It was bad. It was bad. But yeah, I learned quite a bit to learn how to handle the bugs in Norway, and coming into Alaska, it was a lot more manageable.
Yeah.
I don't think I've really had much problems with the bugs in Alaska.
Do you ever get frustrated with yourself on trail? Like, do you ever find yourselves in moments where you catch yourself maybe less prepared than you'd like to be, or in a situation where you're getting swarmed by bugs in shorts and you're just you just lose your temper with yourself and get frustrated?
No, that's just it's mostly
okay.
Not the bugs, the bushwhacking. That's when I would lose my temper sometimes. When the bushwhacking gets so bad, it's like, what the heck is going on?
Is this in Alaska?
It's in Alaska. Not that much in the Brooks Range. It was more the Alaska Range. There were some bad bushwhacks. I kind of have like a list of the 10 worst bushwhacks I did during that hike, and I remember the top few. And yeah, that's the bugs wouldn't cause me to lose my temper, but the bushwhack would.
I want to go back to comparing these. So what's the distance on the Brooks Range traverse?
So we went from the island of Kaktovik up. It's up on the north shore, just a little bit off the mainland. And just then we went all the way to the Bering Strait. Usually most people end after the Brooks Range, but there's a little bit more of Alaska, so we just kept on going all the way to the end. Then for the Alaska Range.
Oh, and what's the distance on that? Do you know?
1,200 miles.
Okay.
But like the Brooks Range, I think that's only 900 miles.
So you just did a bonus 300?
Yeah, might as well keep on going. It was short enough.
Yeah. Okay. And the Alaska Traverse? And actually, before we get to that, how long did the 1,200 miles take you?
I don't know. I think 2.5 months. But that's not something I remember. I have to look up.
Yeah. And it sounds like you like hiking at very northern latitudes during the summer. You're managing long days.
I mean, I like the go anywhere, do anything kind of places where you could just... And the solitude up there.
Sure. I'm waiting for Antarctica to appear on your resume. I feel like that's the next frontier for you. Just based on the trajectory of how difficult these hikes are becoming, I don't know where you go after Alaska.
I mean, the top of my bucket list is off limits. It's Russia, Yamchaka, the Commander Islands, the Kuril Islands, and getting into Russia for the foreseeable future, so...
Especially working for Homeland Security. You're basically a spy at that point.
Yeah, so there's certain spots in Canada I would like to hit up, but it's not really too high of a priority right now. But maybe one day, maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah. Drug trafficking.
I said legal.
Some drugs are legal.
Well, I kind of think maybe you're onto something with the spy part.
Ooh. Are we onto something? Okay, so I keep interrupting you. Chance is right. You are the most interesting person in the world, so my brain's bouncing in a lot of different directions right now. Okay, so you gave us an overview of the Brooks Range Traverse. 900 miles turned into 1,200 miles, a season-ish. Tell us about the Alaska Traverse.
That's probably the hardest hike I ever did. Pretty much pushing my limits. But that goes from Canada to the Aleutian Islands, but I started just right outside of Denali National Park, then walked to Canada, then looped back to Denali, then continued on. But it's a more difficult hike than the Brooks Range, a lot more brushy. The rivers could be anything.
I'm looking at your Google Earth tracks from this trek, and I can't believe anyone hikes this. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, did you turn around over there? You got a little loop over there.
Yeah, that's the Canadian border. I mean, yeah, that's where I wanted to start at. But I just took the long way.
Yeah, that's like the part of Alaska that everyone recognizes on a map, the little elephant trunk.
Yeah, it's the ponytail.
I made mine up too, so I don't know. We're both looking at each other like, which one of us said the weird thing?
Which is, who's stupider right now? It's usually me. Yeah, so tell us about the inspiration for the route. Like, is this something that anybody had done previously?
There's been surprisingly not too many people have done it. Usually they'll just do the Alaska range, a traverse of the Alaska range, but that's what I sent over to Nat, see what he thought about it, but then he wanted to keep on going to Katmai National Park, just a few hundred more miles. I go, wow, if we're going to go to Katmai National Park, we might as well go all the way as far as we can. So that was the end of the Alaska Peninsula and the first Aleutian Islands.
In addition to grizzly bear, obviously we saw a video already. What sort of wildlife are you seeing out there? Do you see orca out when you're by the ocean?
No, not during that time. I've seen whales, but it was when I came back to Alaska and checked out more of the Aleutian Islands, but not much wildlife in the water. A lot of otters. They're everywhere.
I love otters. Was this where you saw the Bering Strait?
No, that's up in the Brooks Range.
Oh, okay. My Alaska geography is not good. When you were at the Bering Strait, could you see Russia on the other side? Sometimes you can.
You could see the island. There's a island that's owned by Russia, so you can see that island. That's Russia. I think that's what Sarah Palin was talking about.
I was gonna not make the reference, but thank you for doing it for me.
Well, part of me is like, if you could see it and you've got a pack raft and you are the way that you are, what percentage of you is like, could pack raft over there?
No, that's not happening.
That's where we draw the line?
That's exactly what somebody who has already done it would say.
Yeah. Okay, now I'm seeing it's not near where this traverse is, so I really took us on a tangent.
Yeah, so how did these treks compare? You obviously said that this was the most difficult trek you've ever done. 2,400 miles over what period of time?
4 months.
4 months. Yikes. Okay, so 600 miles per month. And you said that this is a heavy bushwhack hike, right?
Some parts.
Yeah.
Some parts.
Is your hiking day similar to what it was in Norway?
Yep, pretty much all day. Minimum 12-hour days, and that's a short day. Usually we're trying to do 14 hours at least.
Yeah. And you're still on a heavy potato chip and fruit roll-up diet?
Oh, absolutely. I had a dialed down at that point of what I knew I wanted.
So in addition to the bushwhacking and just the sheer length of this, walk us through what made this so difficult.
The heavy carries. A lot of heavy carries. And the rivers were less of a problem at that point because, I got more experience with the pack raft, so coming back again, it was not too bad. We were doing more floats, but we were more experienced at that point. But the hardest days were actually near the end when we thought we were out of the mountains and just it was just going to be rivers and lakes and beach. But, oh man, the wind is absolutely brutal on the Alaska Peninsula. There were so many days we were just trying to survive, just hoping our tent would stay up.
Are you in a two-person tent? Are you guys sharing a tent?
Nah, we had separate tents.
And
my tent was more bulletproof, but there were still days I wasn't sure if it would hold up. And just places we had a camp that weren't the best spot to protect us from the wind. And yeah, the wind, that was a big surprise how brutal it would make hiking. And because we had a float for certain parts on the Alaska Peninsula, and when it's windy, you're pretty much you have to wait it out.
What kind of tent were you carrying?
6 Moon Designs, so lunar solo at the time. Right. So kind of pretty much a pyramid tent.
Mm-hmm. Are you still rocking the circuit at this point?
Yep.
Yeah.
Don't see myself changing from that. Usually more experienced hikers go lighter, but since I hike more in remote places, I just need to carry more weight and carry a pack raft, so it's easier with the circuit.
And what are you using for a sleeping bag or a quilt? I imagine you've got a variety, but like for something like this.
No, the same. Catabatic gear.
Okay.
I mean, I really don't add too much stuff when I'm up to my base weight for when I'm up in Alaska. I think I just add an extra jacket and pants and long tights. But other than that, my base weight goes from usually 13.5 to 15 in Alaska. Then you have to add the pack raft, which adds another 9 pounds.
Just a quick little 9.
Yeah, I try not to think about that. It's always heavy.
What degree quilt are you using?
20, I believe, with some extra down, so more 10. Catabatic gear.
Yeah.
That's been my favorite.
Yeah, we're both Catabatic fans as well.
I think you know her.
Yeah, Chris?
Yeah.
Yeah, she rocks.
Yeah, I met her once. I at her shop when they were still here in Lakewood.
Yeah, I've been to that shop.
Yeah, that have been sliding now.
Yep.
What are you using for footwear?
Saucony. I learned because in the early days I was being too cheap with shoes, but I've learned you really should invest in good shoes. And the one thing we learned up in Alaska is shoes don't last that long. You pretty much have to replace that every resupply. So less than about 200 miles, got to replace them, or you're gonna have a bad time.
Is that because you're carrying so much weight? It's rocky. What's the reason that the shoes wear down so quickly?
I think it's weight, and you're always It's always gonna be wet. You're walking in wet terrain.
Do you and Knots ever get into little fights? Do you ever get in spats?
No, he's like one of the few hikers I could hike with. I mean, he does have a reputation if you've done any research into it. But he's a cool dude. He's a chill dude. Probably the toughest hiker I know, and he's pretty competitive. So pretty much anything I could do, he could do better.
Are you guys pushing each other? Yeah. Are you guys pushing each other? Like, you don't want to let the other person down because you're both incredibly strong hikers?
I mean, I don't even think we need to do that. We just know we're capable of completing the hikes that we set out to.
I'm a bit reluctant to ask this question. Are you carrying a bear canister? out there?
You only need to carry your sack.
Okay.
So the areas where that it's required, I would ship myself the yursak. That doesn't mean I'm actually not sleeping with my food, but I have the yursak as required by the regulations, and you only really need from my reading of what is required, you only have to protect the food. So, and it's still protected in your tent. I mean, that's not going to be a winning argument, but...
Are you trying to get mauled by a bear?
That's really, like I said, bears are not too much of a concern. I mean, we slept in some places where the bears are probably just around the corner, and I'm perfectly fine with that. He's not, but I am.
Yeah. Are you using an OPSAC as well?
No.
Cool.
That was probably the expected answer there.
I mean, I figured, like I said, I see bears as intelligent creatures, so if they can smell my food, they can smell me.
Yeah.
And they can hear me because I snore a little bit, and they don't want any problems. So they'll leave me alone, and I leave them alone, and we all get along.
Yeah. The bears are afraid of him. Yeah, they don't want any problems.
Hey, I saw that gym photo. They should be.
Yeah. Wow.
Jumping the timeline a bit, I'm very intrigued by this, as I think anybody who has been to the state is as well. Tell us about your Hawaiian traverse in 2018.
You might have to talk to Rachel about that.
Uh-oh. Is she fired again?
I just visited Hawaii.
It wasn't a hike.
It was short hikes, nothing.
You drank a couple Mai Tais.
Yeah, not much serious hiking happening in Hawaii.
Rachel's fired.
Dang it. I'm going to let Chance pronounce this next one.
The Aleutian Islands?
That's...
What? No, this one.
Oh, you didn't highlight it. The Cordillera Blanca Traverse and Huayhuash Circuit.
That's pretty good because I don't even know how to pronounce it.
Nice.
Pretty good.
You're the official president of pronunciation.
Thank you. I decline.
That is Swami's high route. Pretty much follow what he did, and you couldn't really improve on it. He drew up an amazing route. I just added a little bit more, and it's an amazing area.
Is this the one we talked about on the live pod?
Here's the problem is when they've got these names,
yeah,
my brain enjoys it in the moment and doesn't retain it.
Yeah.
So I had a nice time at the live pod. I know we talked about South America.
Yeah, no, this is South America, right?
Yes, I think that guess you had
Monger?
Yeah, I think he was doing Swami's route too. Yeah. I think he did it twice. Right? Yeah, that's the route.
Okay, and is the make me say it again? Is the CBT and the HHC?
Okay, I don't know what you're talking about. What?
I'm just abbreviating these.
Okay.
Fine, I'll do it again. The Cordillera Blanca Traverse. Mm-hmm. That's CBT in my mind.
And that's what they're calling it nowadays?
No, I just did this to make my life easier. And the Huayhuash Circuit, I made that HHC in my mind. I'm just trying to make life easier for me. Did you do those back to back?
I connected them.
Okay, so where did you start and where did you finish?
I mean, I really can't pronounce the names of most of the places.
So we're just both struggling here.
Yep. But it was pretty much where Swami started, and he finished at a glacier, and there was more mountains, more hiking he could have done, because the circuit, the second part, that's a popular hike for backpackers. Okay. And after doing it, it's amazing. So it's something. There weren't great maps to be able to connect it, but I pretty much figured it out, and it was a good route. I liked it.
How did you get drawn to South America after doing things in other places? What made you turn your attention to South America?
That year, so I think it was 2019. That was the year I was hiking. That's high elevation year. So that was because the mountains there, they're pretty high, 18,000 feet I was getting to. So it was in season. Usually I'm combining hikes that I could a hike in season. So did that hike, then came back to Colorado and did another high elevation loop. Then after that, it was the GHC, the Great Himalaya Trail, so more high elevation. And that was, the year of high elevation.
Okay, so you're saying like a theme to the year. This 2019 is the year of high elevation. Are you choosing your hikes based on themes? Like this year we're going for high elevation. This year we're going for bear attacks. This year are you structuring them together?
It made sense to combine those hikes because they were on my bucket list and it fit season-wise.
So he kind of just like briefly passed over a loop hike he did in Colorado. What he failed to mention is this is a 1,500-mile hike. So walk us through the route that this is. What is the Colorado Loop?
So that name is made up, but it's kind of like a loop if you look at it. So that's why I call it a loop. But I always wanted to do something in Colorado. Just looking at maps of Colorado, there's so much potential. And during that hike, my goal was to summit as many 13ers as I could. So I think I went over about 150 13ers and 14ers during that loop.
Looks like a set of lungs.
Yeah, you definitely did not take the path of least resistance on this one.
It was pretty much trying to get to as many 13ers as I can and spots I never been to. So I was able to get quite a bit of Colorado during that loop.
I'm assuming this is not something that anyone has done before.
No, that's pretty much made up.
Yeah. Are you on trail for any amount of this? Is it just point A to point B? Like you're just looking at the next 13er and like I'm just going to walk straight there? Or what does the route look like?
So it's a lot of ridge running. So usually the day starts out with gaining the ridge, trying to bag as many 13ers as I can. Then the thunderstorms usually come like clockwork around 1 o'clock. That's when I have to find a place to post up for a few hours. Then it'll go away. Blue skies, sunny skies. Then get back on the ridge, keep on going. And yeah, I got quite a bit of peaks on during that hike.
Do you have a predetermined route before you're starting? Or are you just trying to hit? Are you making it up as you go?
I had all the 13ers on my GPS, but I did have a predetermined route, and I would still fudge it a little bit depending on what I'm seeing, because for most peaks, it's like I'm not sure how I'm gonna tackle it until I'm like right there and I'm able to see the peak, see what's possible and what's not. So, and yeah, it's just how I felt, if I wanted to do any extras that are like on the side ridge or not. But it was trying to get as many as I can.
How many did you get?
I think 150-ish.
How many are in the state?
About 600.
Damn.
Oh, who knew?
Yeah. I've heard from a lot of people that the 13ers are better hikes than the 14ers. I think the explanation that I've heard is that the 14ers are a lot of them, and at least proximate to the foothills, are so popular that like no one's on the 13ers. Is that?
Yep, that's why I don't do 14ers anymore. The 13ers is where it's at. It's a lot more remote. There's not much beta. You pretty much have to figure. There's a lot of trip reports, but I'm not reading that to figure out how to summit a 13er. I just look at my map, figure out the best way, and confirm it once I get there. Once I'm below the peak, looking at it, seeing what's possible and what's not.
Have you done all the 14ers?
Yes.
You haven't done all the 13ers?
No, I think I'm
not a real hiker yet.
33%, but I haven't done much of it in the last few years. So
yeah,
I have the time. It's good to have a list to be able to work towards during my free time. So
150 is not a small amount of 13ers to do. Of those, do you have favorites?
Vesto Peak, just in the San Juans, and the Trinity's in the San Juans. Just the San Juan Mountains. It's an amazing area with a lot of nice peaks and also the elk range. But that's probably my favorite. It's quite popular, and it's a difficult peak too if you do the front face. But yeah, I would say that's my favorite.
I know that's about as wild and remote of a trek that you could do in Colorado, but I'm curious, is any part of that boring to you based on just, we're going through the list of all these insane hikes that you've done. Is there anything about like just being in your home state where you're from that feels a little mundane for you?
No, because I'm still hitting new spots that I haven't been to in Colorado. And Colorado's an amazing state, so you can't really get bored of it.
Yeah.
And just being able to see more of it and do a big hike in the state, it's a good hike.
Yeah. And how long did this 1,500-mile trek take?
I think 2.5 months.
That's crazy fast. Yeah. That's insanely fast.
Who's going to comment on it first?
Yeah. I think it's 2.5 months. I think I was still averaging 20 miles a day, given the elevation. 20 miles a day. That's pretty short, but given the elevation, I think I made good time on it.
Yeah.
Man, you're going through all the hikes I've done.
I know. I wish we would have moved faster through the beginning, because I'm now realizing how insane your resume has evolved to. Chance has a good idea. Let's save a couple of these more remote hikes that are more recent for a Patreon episode if you've got additional time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sweet. I want to talk about the Southwest Moto Tour. That's the one on your motorcycle, obviously?
That's not hiking related, man.
We can go there. The Aleutian Islands. I want to talk about that.
That's a hidden gem.
Yeah, and a hike that I failed on, air quotes for those who are not watching on YouTube, is the Wind River Range, which I thought was a spectacular mountain range. I'm sure you've done in like the most insane version of that, so I can't wait to talk about that. But yeah, if you want to hear more crazy trails from Double Magic, we're going to jump over to the Patreon now. But before we do that, oh, that's right. Chance is on the ball.
Do you see my notes?
I see Kumo question.
I just kept typing in.
Yeah. So we're going to do our Kumo question. Gossamer Gear is our sponsor. Use code SNUGGLEBUG for 20% off shelters at gossamergear.com. You're going to reach into this Gossamer Gear Kumo here, pull out a ball, and inside the ball is a very random ass question. Sort of a fortune cookie of interview questions.
What is the most ridiculous fashion trend you've ever participated in?
It's kind of funny.
I like that.
You know, when I was in high school, I used to sag.
Like the pants sag?
Yep.
Yeah. Like Jinko jeans.
Pants halfway down your ass.
Yeah. Are you rocking Jinkos? Full Jinkos?
Yep, Jinkos. That was it. That's pretty embarrassing to think about it nowadays.
Yeah, I definitely owned a pair of Jinkos too. It was probably more middle school for me, but yeah, that's a good one. Sweet Quoc. Well, let people know where to go to get more from you, your website, your Instagram, whatever people should know to get more from you.
Yeah, they're not going to get more from me. I really don't do much social media. I don't do much interviews. I mean, I don't think you've told the guests this, but this invite was like extended to me years ago, and I finally accepted it.
What made you say yes?
Like I said, I got bored the last few months. Then I saw your clips popping up on my Instagram. I was going, hey, yeah, I got an invite to that. I should do that. So here I am.
Yeah, well, we are honored. Yeah. Well, yeah, Double Magic, this has been a ton of fun. You are the most interesting man on earth, and I'm excited to chat a little bit more about some of these recent hikes. So we'll jump over to the Patreon right now. To the Trek propaganda portion of today's show. Actually, before we do that, I want to do your new impromptu segment.
Oh, okay.
So, obviously, the news is out. We did the full story on the live podcast. Mm-hmm. Proposal was beautiful. There's a party waiting for you, all that jazz. Now we're in... I assume you're in full bridezilla mode now.
I'm not a bridezilla. Godzilla.
No,
I
of course not.
am very type A, and I like things done a certain way and correctly.
Yeah, way different.
No, but we just started like for fun looking at venues and then seeing a bunch of things that are like your venue should be booked a month in advance or a year in advance.
Are you looking in New York?
Yes.
Yeah.
We're looking in New York. We saw
He's from
things.
DC?
He's from DC. My side of the family is like a little older. My dad's 70 and he's the second youngest of 5.
Yeah.
So I don't see many of them getting on airplanes. So we figured
that's smart.
We'll go to them. But we started looking and we saw that you're supposed to book your venue a year out. There's places that like have every weekend in June already taken. And so us 2 weeks into like blissful engagement are just like, oh my God, do we need to pay attention to this right now so that we can then not pay attention to anything? That way we can have a weekend we want and not a weekend that we have to have by default. So we started looking. We saw a post online that said you should make a little date out of everything. So we went to...
The food tasting part is amazing. That's the best part of the entire thing. At least it was for me.
We're not there yet.
Yeah, no, I'm saying, but like when you get there, that was the only part that I remember from the wedding planning.
So we went to Angelo's with iPads and we got pasta and just like kept drinking and looked at venues. And so we emailed the ones that we liked, and they have been starting to email us back with rates. And now I'm turning things on my Excel sheet from no color background to red colored backgrounds. And like, I'm kind of horrified. It
is the biggest racket of all time.
I've consistently pitched the idea of what if we just elope? Like, do we really want this? And he does really want a nice wedding.
He wants it more than you do?
I mean, I would like to have one.
Yeah.
But when I think about the other things the money could buy, I find it very hard to validate. And I think
if I could go back and do it over again, my wedding was amazing, and I'm sure my wife would hate to hear this, so please no one clip this and send it to her. But if like we had our budget handed to us and we had the option to go elope, definitely would have done. Like it was amazing to share that experience with friends and family. Like it's something I'll cherish forever. But like now we are shopping at budget grocery stores, like we're doing everything that we can to pinch pennies. I'd rather have that money.
Yeah, I've just like, and this isn't my budget, what I'm about to read to you. This is in red on the list now because it is very out of budget.
Sure.
But just the principle and the idea that this is what the baseline costs at some places is offensive.
Yeah.
So this is one. I'm not going to name the place, but they've got pretty photos, and they are in New York. And again, this isn't New York City. This is upstate New York. Like, this is the Adirondacks.
Is this like in winery territory?
No, that's the Finger Lakes. This one's just like upstate New York. There's literally nothing that special. It's pretty. I don't understand the whole like barn thing that's been going on, but this one's more of a building than a barn. Whatever. Anyway, so it was one of the ones on the list that we rated high enough to email and be like, hey, what are your prices? So, for May through October, the site fee...
Take a brief pause here because
what a cliffhanger.
Sounds like the camera just pooped out on us. Out of battery or out of storage?
I wonder what's stored on that.
Yeah. I can attempt to fill the time. Maybe I'll jump to the Trek propaganda while we figure out the storage part, and then we'll jump back into wedding planning just to make the editing easier.
I guess so.
I'll just do it quickly because that's the best way to do a segment. The story that I want to feature today, this is an interesting one, and shout out to our social guy, James, for flagging the story. This is grizzlies to be, this is perfect given our conversation, grizzlies to be reintroduced in North Cascades, what it means for the PCT. I'm just going to read the first few paragraphs from the article. This is by Kelly Floro. Obviously, you guys know all about Kelly. Washington's North Cascades region is set to welcome back a long-lost resident, the grizzly bear. Grizzlies were eradicated from the region in the 20th century. The National Park Service and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service announced a decision this week to restore the iconic animals to the region. Grizzly bears once thrived in the North Cascades, but they dwindled over time, largely due to humans killing them. The last confirmed sighting of a grizzly bear in the U.S. portion of the North Cascades was 1996. Officials plan to relocate grizzlies into the North Cascades from other regions, such as the Rocky Mountains or interior British Columbia. The goal is to establish an initial population of 25 bears over 5 to 10 years, introducing them between 3 and 7 individuals each year during that period. I'm not going to read the entire article, but obviously don't want to leave the cliffhanger about what this means for the PCT. Will there be grizzlies on the PCT? The Pacific Crest Trail passes through the North Cascades in the final leg of its 2650-mile journey to Manning Park. However, it will be a long while before PCT hikers are likely to spot grizzlies on the trail. Again, at the risk of not just reading this entire article, which I want you guys to go do, we'll include the link in the show notes. But if you want more context on grizzlies getting reintroduced into the North Cascades, that's where you can find it. And that timing was perfect. We're back on with video.
Yeah, now for our cliffhanger.
Yeah. I guess we won't have the Trek propaganda on video, so sorry, guys.
You can't see Zach say that.
Yeah, but trust me, I did.
Okay. May through October, which is peak season. Which makes, I mean, like, I get that there's also off-peak season, but the amount they charge for off-peak when nothing's really available.
I imagine off-peak season in northern New York is probably not, like, the coolest weather. Or I guess not the best weather, I should say.
Okay. Site fee. This is for using the site. $50,000.
Oh, yeah, already out. Damn, fuck, shit.
Food and beverage minimum before 22% administrative fee. This is the minimum. $110,000.
Where is this, like, from
minimum
the Real Housewives list of whatever?
This is literally just like a building.
Jesus Christ.
Minimum guarantee. Site fee, plus food and beverage minimum, plus 22% administrative fee, plus New York State tax 8%, aka $199,167.
Yeah, our budget was less than just that first number that you gave.
So is mine.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm still upset that, like, I have to spend any amount that could be a down payment on a house. I'm upset about.
Yeah.
And, like, I've pitched the idea of eloping. I've pitched the idea of what if we elope and then have a quarterly honeymoon? That's really bougie. What if we just get a house?
You talking yourself into it right now?
No, I'm talked in. I'm down. But Garrett has always had a vision that he wants this, and I'm okay with that.
Are you guys following the tradition of the bride's parents are picking up the tab?
My parents are willing to contribute a very generous number. Please don't use the past numbers that I just said in terms of thinking of what they're contributing, because I think that is asinine.
No, that number, I have a nosebleed right now.
I would stop someone from spending that if I could. Yeah. But I think Garrett's parents are also going to contribute a little too.
Yeah, all right.
So not traditional in that way.
I'm very happy I had boys.
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons, but girls are great, but I don't want to pay for a wedding.
I just can't believe, like, at first I was like, okay, let's elope. In on that, let's do that. I got no's. I figured, okay, whatever. Started looking at venues, found a place that was nice. I was like, okay, this could be fun. Then we had that date. Thought, okay, this could really be fun. Then I started getting emails back, and now today I was like, I'm burnt out again. I'm back in that mindset. So I think I'm just going to be ping-ponging between this is fun and then seeing prices and dying inside.
Yeah.
And then thinking it's fun and then putting into perspective how much money, like how much it could get you in other avenues. And I'm hoping by the end of this I've had fun. Yeah.
Well, I know what's been a more popular thing of late is to have maybe not off season, but like not a Saturday wedding. Like I've seen more Sunday and Thursday weddings.
Yeah.
I know that's obviously harder for people that work
but the cost
9 to 5s.
isn't that much different. And it's like, if you're going to spend X amount, you might as well have something that you really like versus spending slightly less than X amount and ending up with something where you're like not stoked on it at all.
Yeah.
So it's just
well, the good news is having it on a Thursday is fewer people attend. It's cheaper for you, but they still get you gifts. If you're thinking purely selfishly.
Yeah, but if I don't want people to attend, then back to eloping. Great idea. So yeah, I'm in pain right now.
I think you should heavily consider the eloping.
It's not me. We got
as the ghost of future you.
It's not me.
Yeah. We'll make a Patreon episode of me trying to pitch him.
Garrett's also been to so many people's weddings. Like we've had so many weddings that we've had to go through that I think he's excited to have his turn.
Sure.
And I get that. I'm just like sticker shock, I think, at the moment. I'm in awe of how basic the bear things are with no frills attached and how much people are charging for them.
Yeah. I remember when I first started dating Jenna, one of my good friends said to me, he's like, Zach, when you get married, be a good friend and don't invite me.
Yeah.
I made him my wedding officiant.
I love that.
So
that's my wedding update. I will see you guys on the next one and let you know how
this will be a fun thing to track.
Stability is
That'll
going.
be a fun one to track. What's your timeline?
Well, we were initially thinking like Memorial Day weekend could be nice because everyone has, well, not everyone, but a lot of people have off work on Monday.
Yeah.
And we were also thinking we would prefer to have a less like, shiny wedding, but have it be somewhere that like does a weekend thing where we could do a welcome party the night before.
Our destination wedding.
Well, I mean, New York is kind of a destination to some. It depends who you ask.
I'm thinking like Hawaii.
But it's like if we're flying there and if we're having this whole thing, if we're spending this money, like we might as well see people for more than the 4 hours that we're overwhelmed.
Totally.
So we're thinking doing like some sort of welcome party the night before. Ideally, we'd like to get maybe a food truck. That seems cost effective. And just like have a space that is available that ideally the venue would just let us use.
Yeah.
And then something the following morning where people can like grab a Continental on their way out and say goodbye.
Yeah.
I don't know. Right now I'm just like in the land of, do I want any of this?
Yeah.
But this is totally today's mood.
Sure. I feel like we cast a wide enough net that you'll get some helpful messages. Somebody has a venue hookup for you.
Or like a consolation of like, just, I'm so sorry you're going through this.
I know. I'm the typical guy trying to fix the problem, and that's really all that I should be doing.
I just don't want to look at anything. Like we were saying, if we narrowed it down before we went to Italy, then I have trail days right after. Then after that, it's pretty much June. So then we're less than a year out if we did Memorial Day weekend. So we should come back with an idea of like 2 or 3 places that we want to actually go see in June.
Yeah.
And I get overwhelmed and then I want nothing.
Yeah.
So at the moment I want nothing.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
This will be a fun thing to track.
Yeah.
Yeah. Question of the day. A little inside baseball here. This is the least amount of prep that we've ever done for segments, probably ever. So this will be a lot of figuring it out on the fly. Would you rather be a cowboy, samurai, or a pirate?
I think a samurai.
That was my initial instinct too, but we can't say the same thing.
Okay, which one of the 2 that are left?
The sword skills by itself is, I think, reason enough to pick samurai. But if I have to pick between cowboy and pirate, oof, both have got a lot of blood on their hands. I guess all 3 of them. Pirates seem like they're having a pretty good time, if I'm being honest. Just being drunk on a boat, missing an eye.
I would say it depends on which pirate, because if you're not like a important pirate, you might not be having a good time. Swabbing the deck, getting scurvy.
Yeah, I mean, like dying of scurvy. But I feel like throughout history, everyone's dying of pretty terrible stuff. I don't know. I just think like living on, even if you're scrubbing the deck, you're still definitely just having a party on a boat. And
True.
Even if you're a bad pirate, bad in terms of like not succeeding at your goal, probably still having a pretty cool party.
True. Cowboy, you get a horse.
Yeah, I mean, what was the HBO series? The one that's like a entire separate universe. It went from the Wild Wild West to being like a futuristic. God damn it! You know what I'm talking about?
Not even the slightest clue.
Jesus. Is it Westworld? Yeah, Westworld.
Oh, okay.
That had me. The first season of that is incredible, and it makes like that sort of life seem very appealing in a sort of a dark and sadistic way. So I could be talked into. All 3 seem very fun.
Yeah.
There's not a bad option, but yeah, pirate party sounds pretty sweet to me.
Yeah.
But samurai, I think, was the right choice.
Well, it just seems like I have the most skills and the most chance of winning a scenario. Like if I'm in a cowboy, then I'm probably getting in like a pistol fight. Yeah. I've got a quick draw and aim, and I'm not going to be good at that.
Yeah.
And also like there's warrants out for you. There's people like bounty hunting. I don't know. It just seems like a life on the run. Pirate seems like if I'm not at the top of the boat, I'm just like not having a great time on a boat.
You're just an ocean gangster.
Yeah, or I'm the ocean deck cleaner.
Yeah, but I don't know why your mind immediately goes to... You could also be a shitty samurai.
Well, I think there's a lot more people on a boat that like help the boat run than get to like look at the maps and find the treasure.
Yeah. Still just drinking rum on a boat.
True.
Yeah.
Samurai.
Yeah.
Final answer.
Cool. Triple Crown. This is a throwback. I think I suggested this one a million moons ago. This dates back to when we were having our debate on Vermont versus Wisconsin. I think I just tipped what our Triple Crown is. This is the Triple Crown of cheeses.
I want to go first.
Yeah, go for it. I have enough that I can do this forever.
For anyone who has a Trader Joe's near them, go to Trader Joe's, buy the unexpected cheddar. You're welcome. It is... We got it because it had a funny name. We're just like, what's unexpected about it? And we went home and we were like, what was unexpected is how good it is. So unexpected cheddar, Trader Joe's. Get it, enjoy it, love it.
Is it just an extra sharp cheddar or what's the deal?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. It just is really, really good.
Yeah. This is going to be the hardest thing for me of all time to narrow it down to 3, but I'm going to say this one would probably not be expected for a first draft pick, but I genuinely, like when this is on the charcuterie board, I find myself keep coming back to this, is a good brie.
Oh, come on. That was mine.
Brie's so fucking good. Just
put it in the oven, toss a little honey on, sprinkle a little brown sugar, dip an apple in.
Yeah. I like brie so much that I can eat the rind. I don't care. I eat the parts that other people throw away. I'm dedicated to my brie.
Yeah. I also bring brie on trail. I had brie for most of the JMT.
So fucking good.
So good.
For my next one, I think I have to go with like a fresh mozzarella.
Ooh, okay.
It's a little bit of a bland cheese. Like it's not the most exciting on the palate, but I'm thinking like you're in Italy, get a little bruschetta action. There's just something very romantic about this.
Bruschetta?
Yeah.
Bruschetta.
I'm more Italian than you are.
Is it bruschetta?
Yeah.
I'm about to go. I should know.
Yeah.
I need to know.
Well, it's one of those things where what's the other one?
Mozzarella.
Mozzarella. Giada De Laurentiis. Yeah, she's very Italian. She had a cooking show on the Food Network. I don't know if she still does, but she doesn't say too many things in like authentic Italian. But every time she says mozzarella, she could really emphasize the mozzarella. It is very funny.
Garrett made fun of me because I downloaded Duolingo like 2 months ago, and he said I wouldn't stick with it, and then I would just remember random words, and it wouldn't actually help anything. And I did not stick with it, and I just remember random words. But now I can say un cornetto con zucchero.
What does that mean?
A croissant with sugar.
Nice.
So I'm gonna do great over there.
Yeah. It'll come to me. There's one word. I think it's some sort of pastry where we say it incorrectly. Or I shouldn't say it in
Croissant.
No, it's not croissant, but that did kind of start to jar it loose. Fuck, it'll come to me. But yeah, fresh mozzarella.
Okay. I'm going to go with the distant cousin of brie, at least in my brain. Also semi-related to mozzarella in my brain, burrata.
Okay.
I feel like it's like brie and mozzarella combined because it's in that little container with some liquid like mozzarella is.
Yeah.
But people serve it in a style that brie is.
I don't know if I've had enough of that to have strong thoughts about it. I'm sure I've encountered it, but
it's got like it's got a hard, not hard, but it's got a shell that holds a shape.
Like the rind.
Yeah, and then you slice it and it kind of just pours out.
Okay.
It's good on a cheese board.
Okay.
Or like if you can get like a brie at a place and the brie is the appetizer with dippy things.
Okay.
They also do it with burrata. So if there's no brie, I will go with burrata. But if I'm at a grocery store, the Port Salut cheese, it's got an orange outside and a white inside.
Yeah. I'm noticing a theme.
that they're all
brined,
cheese.
soft on the inside, typically white, although I guess cheddar.
Well, King Soopers has these baskets in their cheese section where they just put little scraps. It's like when you go to Lush and they just have little soap shavings that you could take some of. And they have these little cheeses that are just, I guess they didn't make the cut for the bigger slices, and they're like $1 each. So I'll go and I'll just pull out a little handful of those, and that one I noticed I kept liking.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Is that 2?
That's my 3rd.
Okay. I'm torn between a billion. Gruyere.
Oh, okay.
That's just another one on the charcuterie board that I keep coming back to. Honestly, I feel like I'm probably going too fancy. I'm like a sucker for very basic. Like I love Munster. I love.
Throw a slice of pepper jack at me.
Yeah, pepper jack.
I also like the goat cheese that they do that has like the blueberry bits around it.
Sure.
You ever get that one?
Yep.
The little logs.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely a basic bitch when it comes to cheese. So I'm going through the mental Rolodex of my charcuterie cheeses, but that's like 1% of my cheese consumption.
Yeah, we should all have more cheese.
Yeah.
I think is the Parmesan.
I do enjoy Parmesan enough that I can just eat it straight. Not like the shredded Parmesan is a little too.
When they give you the flakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I just slice off bits and go to town. Most Swiss cheeses can suck it. Never been a big Swiss cheese guy.
Fun.
Yeah.
Unless it's on. There's certain burgers that I think do good with the Swiss, but I would never choose it myself.
Yeah. Blue cheeses are very hit or miss for me. Mostly miss.
Mostly miss to me as well. Provolone I've never really had strong feelings towards. Any of the jacks, cheddar jack, Monterey jack. I'm a fan of jacks.
Yeah.
Cheeses.
Yeah. Good. Okay. That's enough cheese.
Yeah.
Voicemail. Oh shit. I gotta pause it real quickly. We have a listener voicemail.
Yay.
Let's get to it. Try to make sure that people's eardrums don't bleed when I play this.
Hey there, calling from Florida. It's the 24th of April, and I just want to let you know that I've been listening all the time. 5 stars, all that good stuff. You made the New York Times. As a matter of fact, there was a thing about podcasts for backpacking and outdoor things, and you were number 1 on their list. Haven't heard a bit about it on the air, so check that out and talk up yourself. It's New York Times. Not bad. Proud of you. Bye.
I love his voice.
Yeah, that's an excellent voice.
He sounds like someone I want to just encourage me.
Yeah. He's got a little Pox holiday to him. I appreciate that. Maybe that was Pox.
Do you want to tell the funny story about it?
Well, I refuse to acknowledge the article because I don't consume the lamestream media. So, no. Yeah. So actually was the first one tipped off by this because I set Google alerts to a variety of things hiking related to source news for the trek. And I believe this popped onto my radar because it had mentioned the Pacific Crest Trail. And I clicked on it, and lo and behold, it was an article about the best outdoor podcast, and Backpacker Radio was number 1 on that list. So I honestly don't know that if it wasn't for that, I would have learned about us being in the New York Times without Carl's message.
Well, we would have because Elise sent us a screenshot from her friend's aunt sending her a screenshot. But they don't tell you.
No one contacted us. I actually sent an email. It took a lot of investigative work to track down the author for this and to get a contact. And I sent her an email just being like, this made my day. Thank you so much. Never heard back. I guess that's a good journalist is like you don't want to be tampered with by your sources. I don't know how journalism works. But yeah, no, it's you would think being featured in the New York Times, not only on the website, but it was in print per that message that we got from Elise, there'd be some sort of celebration or notification or something. But no, it was like 2 people sent us messages. I haven't noticed much by way of like, hey, I found you through the New York Times. Maybe that'll happen, but I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's certainly, we're not saying it because we're modest. That's not it. It's just that like we didn't really know for a bit.
Yeah. It is, to me, very interesting how, I don't want to say little, but less of an impact some of these main sources of news have relative to like their prestige. Because it was, I think 2019, I was featured in the LA Times gift guide or something like that for through hiking coaching. I got one sale from it, like legitimately one sale. I imagine their distribution is many millions. So I've had way bigger impact with doing just much more niche things. It is very flattering.
Yeah.
We're
certainly not upset about it.
Not upset about it.
We'll take it any day.
But it's been an interest, like that has been a thing that has been, or I should say at one point in my life, like a North Star, like a very flattering, cool thing to strive for. I've been a little underwhelmed by what comes from it other than just like putting it on a resume.
Yeah. Well, it was funny because you sent the link and then I clicked the link and it was like subscribe to read and I was like, aw. And then we found our way past the paywall.
Yeah.
And then we got a photo of the print version. I mean, it'd be cool to like have a print version.
Yeah. If somebody has an extra copy,
like an extra, we don't want your only one,
no.
right? If you like it, but if you have an extra one.
Yeah. If you have the print copy, Chance and I will send you a signed book. How about that?
Yeah.
A nice little trade.
Well, you'll know that we thumbtacked it to our bulletin board.
Yeah. But thank you to Carl. Honestly, I'm more flattered by the Carls of the world who are willing to pump our tires because it's cool to be featured in the New York Times, but we appreciate our listeners very much.
Mm-hmm.
Mailbag.
Thanks for the Foothills Trail podcast. I was unaware of the trail prior to the podcast and I'm now seriously considering tackling it in April. I just have a question about what Chance did with her food at night. Ooh, bear hang, Ursak. Thanks again. Great episode, Bill. This is a bear-themed episode. So I did it in February, and while not certain or fully convinced, and while definitely not like completely accurate, I was under the assumption that the bears were probably, not definitely, but probably hibernating, and I oftentimes will just sleep with my food. I did put the food outside of the tent one time because there was a bunch of comments on Far Out about bear activity. They have bear cables, so like you can literally hang it on the bear cables. It's just extra steps. But the one time I put it outside, it started to rain, and I was like, I'm not gonna have my food bag get wet, so I just went and got it.
Yeah, this is a really interesting conversation because
like what should you do versus what you do.
I think you're the martyr, but most experienced through hikers sleep with their food, which is I'm not saying that's a good thing, but it's just the reality of the situation.
I'll tell you this, when I do the Teton Crest Trail with Elise, I will absolutely not be sleeping with my food. If I have to put my food in a bear canister, my food is outside of my tent.
Yeah.
But if I don't have to put it in a bear canister, it's probably going to be in my tent.
And this is something we've talked with about Andrew Skirko, who I think has written about it better than anyone that I've seen. But if bears are a big issue in a place like the AT, I think it's either they should require bear canisters, or people should just carry bear canisters, or they should have the infrastructure at every shelter to store your food safely, because his argument is that when people are left to their own devices to do a bear hang, they do it improperly. Yeah. And the knock against sleeping with your food is that you're encouraging a bear to come in a tent, and then an aggressive bear gets put down, you're killing a bear. The same thing is true when you hang food incorrectly, and honestly probably worse for that exact outcome, because a bear's less likely to go into your tent than it is to be curious and climb up a tree.
Yeah, I think the setting like plays a role into it too, because like a lot of times bears will become habituated when they know where the food is. And when I'm on a trail where I'm not seeing other people and I'm camping by myself every night, and it's, winter-ish month, and I've got a dog with me and they're black bears, like enough things kind of go in my favor where I feel fine about it. I mean, we can all laugh at me if that ever doesn't go my way, but if it's grizzlies, I'm not fucking around. If it's a black bear in South Carolina in February, I'm going to sleep on my food and kind of take the risk there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
But if I did it in July and there was a lot of comments on Far Out saying there was bear activity, I probably wouldn't sleep with my food. It depends on a lot of factors.
On the context. This is also not legal advice. Make your own mistakes.
Yeah.
Don't make ours. 5-star review. This is from Chris D. Tomaso. Why have I not found this sooner? I stumbled upon this podcast when I came across the recent Matt Lyons episode. I almost immediately hit the follow button. As someone who recently got into backpacking, this podcast is very informative and they have great guests. I agree. This will definitely be a regular listen for me. I'm glad I found it.
Yay.
Chris, we're glad you found it too. If you guys want to hear your review read on this podcast, head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave any number of stars, just not 1, 2, 3, or 4. Thank you to our Chuck Norris Award winners on Patreon. That is Alex and Misty with Navigators Crafting, Andrew, Austin McDaniel, Austin Ford, Brad and Blair from 13 Adventures, Brent Stenberg, Brian Alsop,
Tables,
Christopher Marshburn, Coach from Marion Outdoors, Dane,
Ish,
Derek Cook, who we met at...
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
He drove 3 hours to come see us.
Long ways.
That was
Derek,
great.
You're the man. Thank you so much. Eric Casper. We gave him a hat, right?
Yes, we did.
Good.
The Friendly Ghost. The second he told me how far he drove.
Yeah, that's worth a hat for sure.
Yep.
Eric Hoffman, Greg Knight, Greg McDaniel, Jason Snaler,
Barely know her.
Haley Buckingham, Liz Seeger.
Palace? That's new.
Oh, yeah.
I've never said Palace before. It just felt right. That's definitely a new name.
Good. We got another one. Liz Seeger, Patrick Ciancialo, Sawyer Products, Spam, Timothy Hahn,
Solo,
and Tracy Trigger. You can follow us on social at Backpacker Radio on TikTok, right?
Yes.
We're still there?
Yes.
TikTok still happening?
Yes.
At Backpacker Radio on Instagram, at BackpackerPod on Twitter, Facebook, or X, Facebook.com/Backpacker Radio. You can follow Chance.
You can find me on Instagram at Juliana_Chauncey. You can get my book, Hiking from Home, a long distance hiking guide for family and friends, on Amazon. And I'm doing this thing called Pink Blaze Productions, where if you want help editing your hiking videos, it's just not something you enjoy. It is something I enjoy. So if you would like to have your hiking videos edited for you, so all you got to worry about is being on trail and having fun, go to pinkblazepro.com and check it out.
And it goes directly to the Bridezilla Fund.
Yeah, it goes to my mental stability for the next year.
Appalachian Trials and Pacific Crest Trials are my books. Follow us on YouTube. What's up, YouTube?
Hi, Internet.
Thanks for watching. And that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening, and happy hiking.
Bye.